Hello and good evening. This isn't the usual format, I'm sure you can tell, but we're doing a little something different this time around.
Something different to end off the season and the year.
Mhm. And because, we're both going to be doing our own little holiday festivities for the next, well, I guess, maybe week and a half, and so normal scheduling time will be a bit up in the air, but we just wanted to be able to kind of give kind of a sum up video. Not really a sum up video. It's really just kind of
It's
us.
it's kind of a sum up video. Not necessarily just the show, but the year
Yeah. Yeah.
that we've all just suffered through.
Oh God, that really is the best term for it. I remember I saw today um, that like the Merriam-Webster dictionary said that the word for 2018 is justice. For me, I think it should have been stamina.
That's a good one. Where did you?
Yeah.
Is this like the official Twitter account of the dictionary people or what?
No, I saw it on a Snapchat news story.
Oh, great! The official Snapchat news.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like the Washington Post one or something. I don't know. I was bored at work and I needed a break, so I just flipped around on it for a second. I was like, oh, that's something. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but whatever.
Also, yeah, justice. What
Yeah,
what has happened this year with the with lead them to believe
the
that
year
justice
of
has been. Oy.
yeah, the year of people of like fucking children dying in concentration camps at the border. That's the year for justice. My God.
Let's leave it there. Let's leave politics at the door.
Yep, that's as far as it's going,
Not that I
people.
didn't goad you into it, but
That's fair.
okay.
But yeah, this is gonna be us kind of chatting about stuff that we wanted to talk about over the year that doesn't really fit with our usual format. And plus, we're just very, in case weren't able to tell from our entire podcast series, we're very talkative people, at least with each other, and so we just figured, let's just ramble for a little while. Let's just talk about the stuff that we like, which has on more than one occasion derailed entire episodes.
Kept things from going out when they're supposed to go out.
Yeah,
You mean?
like, yeah, exactly. Well, that was only one time at least, but still.
Yeah. No big issues. I haven't lost anything.
I am. I won't lie. Not for any like assumption of you, but I'm amazed that that hasn't happened at this point. Like of some portion of something hasn't gotten done properly. Like either audio recording gets corrupted, or I just forgot to hit the record button.
That
Which I would.
horrifies me every time I keep it open and I constantly go back to it just to make sure that it's still there. Like, okay, I can see the waveforms and the red lights blinking, so I'm
I
still good.
Yeah, for mine, my recording, I just use OBS, so it doesn't have anything like big and flashy for it. I just have to look at the slightly different gray color that indicates this button has been pressed. I'm just like, please tell me that's the right gray, right?
Does
Right?
that say stop recording or start recording?
Hmm.
Oh, it says stop. Oh,
It's like, oh, thank God.
oh
Wait,
my.
does that mean? Wait, does that mean that's what I've hit, or does that mean what do I need to hit?
Does that mean it has stopped?
What does it mean?
Okay, well, I'm not too concerned. We've been doing good.
Yeah, yeah, just talking about our usual nonsense.
What would you consider our usual nonsense though? Like what fits
Really,
in what
just
I
really
trailed off there.
like nonsense would
What
be
do
the
you
best
think is
word.
like
Like
usual?
I just really just kind of near philosophical expounding on shit.
Okay, well, I
Like you like we haven't talked about ourselves too much on this show before, but like we met each other in college and in freshman year in college, and since then there have been multiple nights where we just be hanging out at each other's rooms or each other's apartments, and like you like to pace around a lot and I like to just lay down on the couch, and we would literally you pacing, me lounging on the couch for 2 to 3 hours at a time, just sit there and like talk just about everything our just train of consciousness kind of went through. And it really did go from everything from, political discourse, or I guess kind of outside observer political discourse, because neither of us are terribly political,
no.
and the origin and eventual heat death of the universe.
Yeah.
That was literally a string of thought we went through one time.
It's kind of kept me from. It kept me, I should say, from doing assignments before. On maybe
same.
two occasions.
Yeah. I mean, that was me on every occasion, essentially, but I didn't care.
You did not care.
Yeah, not at all.
We actually, I want to talk about this a little bit because we haven't talked about it in a long time, but we actually had the same film class. We just didn't take it at the same time.
Yeah, did I take it first or did you?
You did. You took it about a full year before I did.
Yeah, I did.
How was that?
I that I wish I enjoyed it more. I really do. Cuz it's the problem with it is that I think for every year it baits you off with having some really cool movies for like the first one or two, and then afterwards it gets into these really either dry or kind of esoteric, like smaller films, which is all well and good, but at a certain point I just have to realize I don't actually like artsy films. I'm not. Whenever I wanted to go take a film class, I was thinking, oh, I'm basically just going to nerd out with a bunch of people who like movies as well as I do. But then I realized, no, art majors are assholes.
It's an art class. That's your first problem.
Yeah, especially and that's a very big generalization. I do apologize, but I mostly mean movie majors, I guess, or film majors, because it got so full of itself, and the main teacher was kind of a sassy asshole. He wasn't mean or anything. He was definitely chill, but there's a certain point I have to be like, I want to listen to what you're saying, but you say it in such an unintentional, haughty tone that I could not give less of a crap.
That was the main thing. He was such a nice, cool guy. I remember having a really cool conversation because in the class there was an overarching what is that word? Arching or arcing? Arcing, right?
I think it's either.
Okay, well, overarching, I'll say, project where you picked a movie from a huge list that he selected, and you had to do a bunch of small projects on it, and that ended with a thesis paper about something that you decided to write about the movie. And
basically a thesis on the movie.
Yeah, just a topic that you got to pick representing the film. And I remember having a really cool conversation with him in his office. He was just a chill guy. When you talked to him, he really liked talking Marvel movies if you just stopped and talked to him in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever he was discussing things that he needed to discuss, I don't know if it was just him trying to go into professor mode, but he just sounded pretentious. And a lot of times that put me off. I don't think he was a bad guy or even a bad teacher, but just something in his tone when he was teaching.
And I guess I think I just realized something in that. I think the main reason I got turned off by that was that I think that's just reminds me of myself, because I very often, I understand I do come off as pretentious and shit, but I do genuinely just love the stuff that I talk about whenever I get really into it, is that to the point where it comes off as pretentiousness.
Right.
And I'm just like, dang it, I don't like seeing that from the outside perspective. It's an asshole thing to think, but it's very true, I realize.
I feel that way sometimes too when I get angry about something, actually angry, and I'll rant about it for a bit. And maybe a few days later I'll think back to it and I was like, you know what? I was heated about that, but probably anyone else listening to me just thought it was angry YouTube gamer. That I was just hyping it up and Doug Walker screaming at nothing.
At all times, both of us are inches away from going angry video game nerd, and that terrifies me. It's oh my god. But I just remembered something about the professor who's a combination. I will not name him because I for identity's sake, and B, I genuinely can't remember his name.
Yeah, I actually do, but
but I remember I took an art class, just a normal art class, just to get another art credit, and I think a year and a half or 2 years after that, I had taken that class, and at one point we had to display some of our work in this big public atrium on campus, and the drawing that I had done was one that you could actually view from different orientations. Like every now and again, I just go around and then just flip the canvas. And at one point, the film professor had actually been there, and he and a couple other guys were looking at it, and I was like, and I just like casually dropped like, hey, and that's actually can be viewed from, like you can actually turn it around and view it from a different direction. And so he's like, oh really? So he walks up, and it's sitting like on a little stand on a table, and he goes up to it and he turns it completely around, as in facing the opposite direction, so we're just looking at the back of the frame, and he says like this. And I'm like, I know if it were any other person, that would be fun and hilarious, and I'd probably have a hearty laugh, but because it's you, I think it's a dick move.
Because you've had association with them and you
Exactly.
get that
And it's
feeling.
not just that. If it was like one of you guys, it was either you or some of our other friends who had done that, I think that's hilarious. But because I know him, and because he just has this air of how he talks, I was fuming. I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna laugh politely and leave. I was so annoyed at it. Like, so unjustifiably so as well, but I was just like, oh my god. It was so funny thinking back on it. It was like, my god, man.
What did you actually do for that class, by the way? Like, what
For
was your... Yeah, for the film one.
I ended up picking Fargo for my film. Big mistake, I should also say, because at the time I didn't know a lot of the Coen brothers' work. I had just
Side of O
known
Brother, Where Art Thou?
exactly. I've stayed on record that Oh Brother Where Art Thou was one of my favorite films, and I was of the mindset that it was going to be a similar experience, and I was very wrong. Like, I was thinking it was going to be another kind of sort of adventure biopic kind of deal, where it's like maybe dark humor but still ultimately kind of fun. And then there's a moment early on in Fargo where a guy gets pulled over and by a police officer, and at the time, and he's like clearly about to get arrested because he's got like illegitimate license and everything. And at the time I was thinking, oh okay, this is gonna ensue some wacky hijinks where they like where they like throw something in the officer's face, and they're speeding off, and there's gonna be some wacky chase of them through the snow. But then instead, the scene continues on, and a guy sitting in the passenger seat pulls out a gun, pulls the officer into the window, and shoots him point blank. And that is the moment I was very, very mistaken with. I literally gasped when I first saw that, because I was expecting such a different reaction. I was like, oh my god, okay. And so I had to watch this movie over and over and over. And it's not a bright movie. A lot of people die in like horrible ways, and like it's about shitty people doing shitty things, like that old chestnut. And I had to watch it over and over and over and try to get some sort of creative thesis out of it, which is not freaking easy.
I forgot that we had to watch them so many times.
Exactly. And it broke me, man. Like, and I don't even remember the thesis I came up with. It was some bullshit. I got like a B. And I thought back on it, and I was like, my god, the list that we could have chosen from included a Marx Brothers movie. It included Duck Soup. Like, why the heck didn't I pick Duck Soup? That's such a good movie.
Well, this is really the honor system, because you can tell him whatever you want, but he really did want us to pick something we hadn't seen before. And just because I like seeing new things, I kind of adhered to that. And I imagine you did as well. I mean,
Exactly.
I know you hadn't seen Fargo, but I think that and the Coen brothers were probably
Exactly.
your
I
reasoning behind it.
I saw Coen Brothers, and I was like, I got that. I can work with that. But yeah, that took me for a loop. Which one did you end up picking?
I actually knew exactly what I was going into, even though I hadn't seen it. Mulholland Drive, and that's just because I really like the works of David Lynch. I'd seen
which
Twin
is a very
Peaks. Sorry,
which is a very distinct style. I've never been able to get into it.
because it's deliberately nonsensical, and you can't tell what's going on because things just happen sometimes. At, I don't know, Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, and I had seen part of Blue Velvet, so I
Hmm.
knew exactly what I was getting into with Mulholland Drive. The thing I didn't think about before going into it is the fact that I would have to do a thesis paper on it. So that was a really big pain. Uh, I
Yeah,
eventually came up with something, but have you seen any David Lynch anything?
I've seen I've seen a few episodes of Twin Peaks just when you and I think it was Nate when you two were watching it some.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Beyond that, I don't think so. If I have, I didn't know it was David Lynch.
Right. Well, Twin Peaks is like there's still bizarre stuff in it, but it is way tame compared to all of his other things because it was a television show on network TV. Everything
Versus a
else
movie.
all his movies are
Excuse
like
me.
pure him, and it's just like get someone, just got to get somebody to produce it, you
Yeah,
know.
which I'm sure is never an easy task.
Yeah, no, a lot of his stuff is nightmarish. Inland Empire, I think it was Inland Empire, has like segments of a rabbit family seen from above, like people in rabbit costumes. Just one will be
Oh,
turning in circles, and another will be in the corner and be like, "The man is coming today," and then the scene will end. It's like, what was that?
see, it's like I'm not into watching that sort of stuff, but it's also see and hear about that sort of thing, and I have a lot of respect for it in the sense of how non sequitur it is and how truly dreamlike and nightmarish it seems. Because I think about that compared to like a lot of horror movies and a lot of other attempting to be deep and meaningful movies that try to have non sequitur moments, but really just end up having just trying to do shit for shock value. And I have a lot of respect for people who actually do it well, and David Lynch is definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I like his work so much. Is we talked about this on the Halloween episode. Is I really more so prefer creepy, nightmarish, and suspenseful things compared to like horror movies that scream in your face and
Yeah,
it's a monster
yeah,
hunting
just
you
gore,
or whatever.
just like gore and like people going crazy. Like, basically, American Horror Story. If you've ever seen any of that show,
I actually haven't, kind of
it
deliberately.
it's it's basically just shock value of the show. Um, which like I guess if you're into that sort of thing, but like it's such a weird thing seeing like on Tumblr people like gushing over actors and characters being like, oh, they're so beautiful, oh, they're so cool, and then I'd end up seeing like I'd get bored and I'd be like, all right, here's a video that says all the deaths in this season of American Horror Story, and it's like a 12-minute fucking video, and it's like just unmitigated like gore and death. There's a certain point I just be like, all right, maybe a lot of those more conservative types of being like media is ruining our children. Maybe they have a small point.
maybe there, maybe we should. You know
Maybe
what?
we
We
shouldn't.
can do stuff like this, but can't we tone it down just a little bit? I don't know.
Yeah, like I get like doing it maybe once or twice. That's like okay. That's saying okay. Life can be brutal. Doing it for an entire show over and over and over again is just like all right. Someone's just getting off to this. Like
Watching a
this is
Serbian
someone.
film, being like, "This is a masterpiece."
Yeah, but yeah, for like it's for that very reason that I at least appreciate people with a skill like David Lynch.
Yeah,
Whether or not I actually enjoy their work, but it's not for any specific dislike of the man or his content. It's just that it's just not my thing.
I agree. I for as confusing as his stuff is, and Mulholland Drive, spoilers without actually spoiling much of anything because I don't really know what happens in the movie after
I don't know
having
how.
watched it 7 times.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's hard to spoil one of those movies.
I mean, Mulholland Drive does have a plot that's going on, but then it also has a second plot for the second half of the movie that is almost kind of the inverse of the first half.
Hmm.
So I
Just
don't know.
kind of
That's kind of
mirrored.
what you're working with. But that aside, it I really liked watching that movie. I went out and bought it after having watched it because uh, He gave me a link to one, I think, on an educational website or something that I could view. But I went out and actually got it because I like it so much. I think it's a good movie.
God, I think didn't we want to like watch a bunch of those movies that were from that list as well? Weren't there like I remember looking back over that list.
I had it pinned on a cork board at one point, and I made it a point to mark them off every time I had seen one because he had a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Stuff that I hadn't seen.
But yeah, and thinking back over that list and really that class in general really made me realize I never want to be a film student because I just enjoy movies. Like there's such a weird distinction where it's like whenever a lot of people say they're really big on film and everything, they get weirdly in depth with it, and that whenever it's just you and I's level of commitment to it, it's kind of seen as, oh, you're just a casual viewer. It's like, no, I just like watching movies and having fun with them.
Maybe
I don't want to have to sit through one of the movies, like for example, one of the movies in my year was called Monica Mana, and thinking back on it, it was still kind of cool, but the entire premise of it is that there is, I'm sure I've told you before, but for the sake of the audience, the entire premise of it is that someplace in the Himalayas, I think, in the Tibetan area, there is a cable car lift that goes up to a shrine on top of a mountain called Monica Mana. And it's a 10-minute ride, and the whole movie is just a film camera set up in the cable car facing the occupants, unedited every single time for every single trip.
Ugh.
And it is a combination of cool for the sake of seeing like, another culture, just kind of just seeing these people interact, and on the other hand, exactly as boring as it fucking sounds.
Yeah, I don't think that's like that sounds like an Andy Warhol type art house project.
And like I saw that movie, and that was the one I definitively was like, I'm not a film student. I like if ever I was given the chance to like try and like write a film or direct a film, I'd probably try to take it, but not because I have this like deep meaningful message to say. It's only because I like movies. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people who are very into film like movies. They like I don't know what they like. If I asked one of them, "What's your opinion on a Pixar film?" they'd probably bash it, and that's exactly why I hate them.
I like B horror too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be laughed out.
Oh yeah, I like fucking Spielberg too much. I'd probably be laughed out.
There were a fair amount of Spielberg films on that list he had.
Yeah, I mean, for at least the very technically, on a technical aspect and a storytelling aspect, Spielberg films are incredible, but a lot of people still bash them for being more family and child oriented.
Yeah,
which I still think is bullshit, considering like Jaws and hell, Jurassic Park, that has plenty of gore. But
I'll say as Wayne Knight.
I don't really know how to respond to it beyond that.
Come on, any movie that has Wayne Knight in it is automatically like a winning feature film.
Fair.
Now, I'm looking this up real quick because I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name. Do you know this film critic? There's a critic out there who is like a notorious troll. Like, people consider him to be the worst film critic of all time because he just has dissenting opinions on everything. And I think Roger Ebert even called him just
nostalgia critic,
a troll before he died. No, not the nostalgia critic. Nostalgia critic tells you exactly what the entire audience thought when they first saw it.
Which I guess is fair enough.
Armand
Oh,
White.
no. Oh, I was going to say Angry Joe.
Angry Joe, the video game reviewer?
Oh, he does video games? I thought he did movies.
No, he does video games.
Oh. Well, either way, I still don't like the man. Who has a 50-minute goddamn review?
Go.
It's absurd.
So he can fight Cobra Commander in the meantime. half of that video is just him fighting a licensed property from the 80s.
What? I've never actually seen any of them. I just see them pop up. I'm like, 15 minutes.
I
Fuck
haven't
right off.
watched it. I haven't watched him since that guy with the glasses was a thing, but I remember his videos. All those critics' videos, half of them would be skits like with like an ongoing story, and his was that he was fighting the Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe.
All right. That sounds about right, I guess. That sounds exactly what I expect from that style of reviewer.
I'm giving up on this. His name is Armand White. I can't find any particularly like controversial reviews. The most recent one I saw was for Spider-Verse, and he gave it a 97, which, okay, yeah, fine. Of course, that doesn't sound dissenting at all, so...
Yeah, it's like I've seen a bunch of people praise that movie, and I'm probably going to praise it when I see it.
Yeah, I need to see it still.
Yeah. Which leads us neatly into another topic we might want to talk about.
What's that? What is that?
The movies of 2018 that we have watched, liked, disliked, and still need to watch.
What? Okay.
And not necessarily each of those specifically categorically. I'm just saying, like, in general.
No, I get what you mean. So
yeah, this isn't going to be like a separate bit with a new musical stinger.
Wait, no, I'm stealing from somebody. I can already tell.
Copyright.
Copyright. Things that I need to see that came out this year. Spider-Verse and that Stan and Ollie, that Laurel and Hardy biopic,
the biopic
with John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan. Those are the two things that came out this year that I have not seen that I still want to see. Like, there's other stuff that came out that I haven't watched that people are all like, "Whoa, you haven't seen that?" I don't really care.
Oh man, there's a bunch I still need to see. I've also watched a lot this year. I mean, hell, I even have the list up. I'm trying to think of what came out this year I liked the most.
All the things that came out this year, and you still haven't watched Ready Player One, so that we can like discuss it.
yeah, I still haven't. I think I'm just more dreading it more than anything, because like I keep thinking, all right, maybe I'll watch it tonight or something, and then I'll see like another clip or something online, like that shows some of the stuff, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm just not. I see the fucking dumb anime looking dude and the fish girl characters and everything. I just look at it, I'm like, oh my god, I know that's kind of the point of like trying to illustrate these characters, but my god, it's gonna be fucking hard to watch.
I sat in a movie theater for 2 hours with 2 other men behind me, one of whom like kept coughing at things. Like, every time there was a funny something said or funny something happening, he would cough, which I guess is his laugh. I did that for 2 hours so that we could discuss this movie.
All right, I'll watch it soon. Jeez, don't have to guilt me into it.
Good. It has Marvin the Martian in it in the first 10 minutes. I think you'll be delightfully surprised.
I will be delightful.
You'll watch it and you'll be delightful the entire time. You won't say a negative
damn well
word until after.
I promise you I will not. But yeah, I'm looking through all the stuff I've seen. Let's see. Yeah, I think probably up there for favorite one this year is probably Wreck-It Ralph 2. That one really surprised me.
Really?
Yeah, like
did
I
it
wonder
surprise you because it was a sequel, or did you not like the first one?
Oh, I adored the first one.
Yeah.
I just like it's a combination, like mostly because it was it's a sequel. Because I was not expecting it. For the fact that it's a sequel, that like it's a normal assumption that a sequel won't be as good as an original, which we've often illustrated on this show. but like I was just going into thinking I had loved the hell out of the first one, and I was really worried about this whole thing. Like, the moment you have a modern day property being like, oh, we're going to directly interact with the internet, the moment that happens, I'm just like, I immediately start to roll my eyes thinking, oh boy, this is going to be something. It's just going to get like super too into its own meta and everything, where it's like, oh, lol, random lolcats stuff and everything. And it did do that, but it didn't do it like badly. It self-referenced like a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously, there's an entire section where they're on DisneyChannel.com, and like they're directly referencing their own properties. And I actually really, really liked it. It was really cute and everything. And it's just like it also had like, you know, actual stakes were put up and actual major changes to characters rather than just being like, oh, we just went through this what would be an entire life changing journey and now everything is exactly the same as before. Now nothing's different, blah blah blah. It's like no, things actually change and there's significant growth between characters. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I was not expecting this. It really hit home with me. And there's, oh my god, and there's a big gripe that I was going to have about it that actually it directly references at the very last moment, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's hilarious. I think it's one of my favorite moments of any movie in like years, just for being it's kind of like a self-referential moment, and I won't spoil it for like anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but I think it's the best.
Okay.
It's so funny. But
Well,
yeah, I think that's probably my favorite one that came out this year that I've seen.
here's the thing though. I've heard that Mario actually is in the movie.
I cannot remember.
Okay, well
if
then who
he
cares?
if he's in it, it's nothing more than like
Wahoo!
more than like a quick like across the screen reference. Sonic is in it though, so that's fun.
Well, he was in the first one too.
He actually has a direct interaction with Ralph on more than one occasion.
Yeah, he says it's called Wi-Fi, Ralph.
There's also, and this is a very mild spoiler, but there's a scene right near the end where he's like they're having a book club meeting, and Ralph is like, and they're referencing Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which for those who don't know, very depressing Russian book about like murder and shit, and it like it has Sonic talking about the philosophy of this book, and I sat there in the theater dumbfounded because I've studied the hell out of this book, and just seeing him talk about the philosophy of Crime and Punishment of Dostoevsky, I was just like, what the hell is my life?
I think seeing Sonic do anything these past 10 years
It is. It
elicits
really
that.
is. But man, just seeing that, it just like it brought the entire thing home for me. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so weird." This is the last thing in the world I expected to ever see in my entire life, let alone this movie. of Sonic the Hedgehog and his more recent voice actor like from the games and stuff just genuinely talking about the philosophy of a Russian novel. Like, what the hell?
Oh
It's so weird. It's a very brief scene, but it's probably had a more resounding effect on me than most scenes in my entire life.
I guess I should see that. You know what?
You definitely should. It's amazing.
I was telling you beforehand, I really stuff that came out this year, I didn't really see a whole lot. I could probably name on one hand what I saw this year that actually came out. Ready Player One,
Hmm.
Christopher Robin, Ocean's 8, Halloween,
Christopher Robin. Shit.
and Black Klansman. I can't think of any others
Oh man, I've seen so many,
that I've watched.
and I completely forgot about Christopher Robin, which we briefly talked about, I guess.
We talked about it a little bit on the show, but the episode
Mhm.
didn't revolve around that. Out of stuff that came out this year, I get that would probably take it for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I thought it was a really well done. I think it only has like a 7 on IMDb, but
It is robbed.
it was robbed. Brad
Oh,
Garrett
yeah.
is an excellent Eeyore.
Yes. And Ewan McGregor is lovely as always.
Is there anything that you still need to see though that came out? Oh, you know what?
Oh yeah.
I just saw this on this list. I didn't know this came out this year. I thought it came out last year. Mom and Dad with Nick Cage.
I don't know that one at all.
I still need to see that. I don't know much about it. Apparently, Nick Cage plays a dad and he's married and they have kids. There's like this virus that spreads around the world for no reason. A virus spreads around the world, and so parents have the impulse to kill their children. And the only thing that I actually know about it is there's a scene where Nick Cage is singing the Hokey Pokey, walking around a pool table and destroying it, while I guess his children are like hiding in the next room afraid. I
That
need to see this movie.
my God, that's quite something. Jesus.
Oh, just look up that scene. Now, I don't even think it was
I'll
in a
look it up.
trailer. I think it was a leaked thing.
I'll look it up sometime later. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wow, that one's crazy. Oh yeah, another one. I don't know if it's even out yet at time of writing, which it must be because it's on a list for it. But it's Vice. Have you seen that one? Or seen
Is
trailers
that
for it?
about? Is that the Dick Cheney one?
Yes, it is.
No, I have not seen it, but
Well, yeah, but like
I have
if you
seen
just
about
like know of it, yeah.
yeah, I know.
I
of
just
it.
I really want to see that, if only because my God, they made a convincing Dick Cheney out of fucking oh dang it, I've lost his name. Batman. He played Batman. Christian Bale.
Oh, Christian Bale. I was like Batman.
Yeah, Christian.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, no, yeah, Christian Bale. Which it's when I first saw this movie, I was like, okay, no, they actually. I mean, first saw the trailer, I was like, I'm pretty sure they actually just got Dick Cheney. It's like that's actually incredible looking.
You think?
Like if I think it's, I really hope it does well. And it's also by the same guys who did The Big Short, which is another movie I loved. But I saw the trailer. I was like, my God, this one's gonna be amazing. Or at the very least, it's gonna win every makeup award in the book.
I didn't know that he was. Do you think that Dick Cheney would do a reenactment of him shooting his buddy in the woods?
This is the kind of political we get to, people. I have no idea. I don't know what to say about the man. I have a very negative opinion of him in general, but
I think
that's
he'd be up
besides
for
the
it.
point. Like, I guess it's like sure. Oh my God, I kind of hope he doesn't, but I guess he could.
Since we're already talking about what we've sort of seen this year, did you watch anything this year that you really liked that didn't like necessarily come out this year? Because I tend to watch a lot of older stuff just that I haven't seen before,
Oh,
and that's the majority of what filled my what I watched.
honestly, all the stuff that I watched this year that didn't come out this year was part of the show.
Really?
So if you wanted me to pick one of the ones that we've done, like
No, that's
that'd probably be a good topic to talk about, like our favorites, what we were surprised with, our least favorites, which I'm sure there's a couple for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back through, like we had quite the year with it.
Well,
I think
I mean, for me, it's definitely a tie for favorite between the
I was gonna pick-
1932 Scarface and the 1973 Day of the Jackal.
I was literally about to say that. I think the same too for my
Really?
two favorites. Yeah, those are freaking great. There's something about those more like not even necessarily political, but like realistic drama, like nonfiction style dramas that you and I seem to like, or even just mob movies, which like mob movies are always a good bet. But like I'm trying to think, like I'm gonna pick a favorite original and a favorite remake.
Oh, okay.
I think my favorite original would be definitively probably probably Day of the Jackal. If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick Day of the Jackal. That one was incredible. And then for a remake, that's gonna be a tie. My two top ones, I'd probably say Blade Runner 2049 and True Grit, which like complete opposite spectrum, but
Yeah, no. I think True Grit's probably my favorite remake too. If I'm being
Really?
completely honest, my favorite remake out of all of them is Little Shop of Horrors, but that's just because it's one of my favorite movies. So
that's fair.
I'm intentionally leaving that one out. If it's
I mean,
left
you can count it. I don't care.
No. For my own personal reasons, I'm leaving it out because of that. I think it's only
Yeah.
fair because I picked that episode knowing that it was one of my favorite movies.
That's fair. And that's kind of the reason why I picked True Grit, honestly. So I guess of those two, I'd pick 2049.
Isn't that the
Because
reason
that
you
one,
picked Ocean's 11?
yeah. But then watching back over, I realized like I love it more out of nostalgia. There's plenty wrong with it. I just think it's a stylish movie, is all.
Yeah.
I still think
True Grit is probably mine.
yeah, True Grit's a great movie. At least the new one. The old one was good too, but it was just kind of interesting.
I don't even
Um,
remember what I said. I think that I said I liked the remake more back on the episode, but I honestly can't remember. It could just be me looking back, which changing opinions over time is definitely not new for me. So
oh yeah, I mean same. Um, I think yeah, probably between those two, I'd pick 2049.
anything that
And
really upset you?
oh man, God, I was not a huge fan of the Scarface remake. It was okay, but it was more of a stamina test than anything with how long it was.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and there's I'm blanking out on some of the other episodes we've had. I'm literally forgetting some of our past episodes because I know there's a big chunk of time that I'm forgetting.
Winnie the Pooh, Karate Kid, Ocean's 11.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of like because there's so many different forms of disappointment or like dislike. I think I think I was most bored with the Karate Kid remake. I think that one was just kind of like bland and interesting, especially compared to the original.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. The one I was most surprised by, I think, would have been. Oh man, I was telling myself like before coming in this, like, I'll pick one that I was surprised by. Ooh, I was surprised by Infernal Affairs. I did not expect that one to be as cool as it was.
Really?
Yeah, I
All
really
right.
enjoyed that. I mean, it was a pretty standard cop flick, but it's also a Chinese cop flick, so it's like seeing it from from the other side of the world, literally. And I was like, all right, this is actually really interesting. I think the one I genuinely just hated was The Departed. I like I really do think I my least favorite of all the ones we've done was The Departed.
Oh my god.
That
Oh my god. Okay.
that one I I went into it thinking, okay, it's a Scorsese. I was also it's probably also the one I was most disappointed with because I was like, it's a Scorsese. I like Scorsese movies, and then it just beat me over the head with this annoying, stupid dialogue that's like was trying to pleasure itself all the freaking time with how it was like, oh, it's so gritty and oh, it's Boston, they're Irish in Boston. I was like, shut the fuck up. It's like, I think the main nail in the coffin was with that one was like that comment that I'd quoted in there was Scorsese saying that this was the first movie he had ever done that had a plot, and that just pissed me right the heck off because everything that wasn't the plot of Infernal Affairs didn't have a plot. Everything that was just Scorsese was rambling and nonsense, and I hated it. All the stuff that I liked was because of Infernal Affairs.
Yeah, not to mention he seems to have forgotten a lot of movies that he did in the past, which might
Yeah,
have been due to all the coke that he's been
well,
doing or that he did.
that, that's fair.
I don't know that coke has that effect, but
I mean, if you do it for long enough, I'm sure it does something.
probably.
I
So
can't help.
I want to go into a little spiel about that too. For the one that most surprised me, it also happens to be one of my favorite ones. That's The Day of the Jackal, just because
Mhm.
I happened to see the Bruce Willis Jackal, not watch the movie, but I happened to see it on a list of action flicks with remakes or whatever because I wanted to do some sort of action type movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily think I'd like the Bruce Willis one more, but I thought it was going to really bore me. I thought I was going to be bored because I don't like those types of movies.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that it is one of my favorite ones that we've done, and it was able to hold my attention, and it had great cinematography. I liked the lighting. great
Are we talking?
moments of
Are we talking
suspense.
Day of the Jackal?
We're talking the
Is
Day of
still?
the Jackal. I'm not.
Okay, just making sure. For a second there, I was like,
No, no,
it's
no,
like,
no.
wait, you were referring to the Bruce Willis one. I was like, are we still referring to that? Because
Sorry,
this
that
is
was
not the
my
same movie.
lead-in.
Yeah, this is not the same movie I'm remembering.
That was my lead-in. I would not have selected this movie for an episode had I not seen
Right.
that the Jackal poster on that list.
Okay,
But
just making sure.
there were so many great elements to it, and it was able to hold my attention for like the whole movie. And I really did not expect that because, like I said, I don't like that genre of film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not only one of my favorites, but it also surprised me the most. The most disappointing and the one I hated the most, I picked this beforehand, and that is The Departed as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I hated it the most.
Really?
Because revisiting it back in my mind, I really was not a fan of the new Karate Kid, and I really was not a fan of the new Ghostbusters. I think that there's some bits that are funny to it, but
I still think Ghostbusters had more redeeming value. Like, it at least seemed to have a care for the subject value. Maybe misplaced care in places, but you know,
right,
it's
but
it's still better than just being beaten over the head.
that's true. But since that's one of those newer comedies that it has so many grading aspects to it of things that they think are funny that they're trying to I really do think that I dislike that one more than The Departed. But just the fact that not even the movie, but the Academy, the fact that The Departed won Best Picture for that year makes me dislike it even more.
Yeah,
And that's external from the film itself, but it still affects my feelings for it.
yeah. I think it's just. I think if I hadn't gone into it with the mindset knowing that A, it was a Scorsese, and B, it had already had, it's been on a bunch of top movie lists throughout the years, mostly on the list of like douchebags. But you know, I just like whenever you meet like, there's always those lists of those movies that people say if someone ever tells you this is their favorite movie, stay away from that person. Some of those movies being like Fight Club or The Departed in this case, where it's like, if like, you know, if they say they enjoy those films, it's one thing. If they say they are their favorite films and they're inspired by them, stay the hell away.
I think that applies to another of his pictures, Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, yep.
Because I do think that it's a well done movie, but a lot of people that say it's their favorite movie are the types of people that identify with
exactly.
Travis Bickle, the main character. They're like, this is a guy I can look up to. You just want to stay very far away from those people.
And for a more recent example, a lot of people who are really into Rick and Morty, and not because it's a show that has really cool concepts and plays around with a lot of sci-fi tropes and drama tropes and that sort of thing. It's because they directly identify with what is essentially a psychopathic terrorist sociopath motherfucker who on every occasion in the show they keep trying to hammer home this guy is an irredeemable bastard, and everyone still is like, no, he's cool. It's like that when they say they identify with Rick Sanchez, run.
Yeah, you know what, for that show too, I don't think it's the greatest animated show. There are plenty of others that I would watch before it, but I don't think it's I didn't think it was bad for a while. Hold on. There was one episode where I officially was like, I don't know that I want to actively watch it anymore. And I don't even remember the plot of the episode, but his daughter, I think it was the most recent season, his daughter realizes that she has some of the same tendencies as her father. And she's like, am I crazy or am I psychotic or something like that? And he goes, worse, you're smart. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember
you
that
finally
one.
reached the peak of what I can tolerate.
And I think, and that kind of just goes back to it when like with that point with, I think, you know, Justin Roiland and the other creators of the show who I can't remember their names. Dan Harmon, thank you. Like what they really go into, like, in multiple interviews, they are like, yeah, this guy is a narcissistic prick. And it's like, I would see that comment of worse, you're smart is just his way, another way of him playing himself up, being like, you're a genius and therefore the world hates you. It's like, no, the world hates you because you're an asshole.
Now, who is this? Is this Justin or Dan?
I don't know. It just seemed very. I think I want to say Dan. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe. I hope it's not Justin. I like other stuff.
Well,
I really like
they
him as a
didn't.
voice too.
Well, they didn't directly reference this episode in particular. Like this is just me like
Well,
expounding
right.
on them,
No,
saying like
I gotcha.
this
I
guy.
would
It's
just
like this
hate
guy
to
isn't.
identify him as that.
Yeah, it's like they would like identify him as like that this is a guy who's done some terrible stuff, and it's like when you keep that in mind, the line "worse you're smart" is really just it's just this guy being a dick again, and him not even like either not realizing it or being too self-aware that he does realize it, and it still makes him a prick. But it comes off, especially to a lot of people who don't actually think too much about the show, it comes off as a legitimate thing to praise, being like, yeah, if you're smart, the world hates you. It's like, no, like don't identify with this man. It's like if you're smart, you're smart. That's that. It doesn't have anything to do with your personality. Your personality does.
Right. It's
So it's
something
like
like that.
so I do understand definitely being turned off from that point onward, because that's probably the point where a whole lot of the annoying fanboys were like, yeah, that's our Rick, that's the guy we want to aspire to be. Where it's like, yeah, all right, that's time to let that one go.
But you have to be smart in order to understand like really subtle symbolism, like a
I never,
rat in the windowsill. Like
oh my, like a rat walking on the balcony railing or whatever it was.
yeah, get it?
Oh my god, it's because he's a rat.
That movie won Best Picture. I would like to remind everybody.
God, I just if for those of you who haven't seen the movie, just look up the last scene, because the last scene is really all you need to see of that movie. That's the most significant scene in the whole thing, honestly. But it's just note that with just that the movie had at no point has ever even shown a rat on screen, and hasn't even used the term rat that often, and then just keep that in mind as that last shot of a rat walking across a balcony comes into view, because it is the most stupid visual cue I have ever seen in a freaking movie.
I think
There's so many good movies with cool mise-en-scène that do really clever tricks, and this is the movie that wins an award for this?
I think you're angrier about it right now than I was in the actual episode.
I've been angry. I've been furious about it ever since, man. I freaking hate it. It's so dumb.
I'm glad.
I think it's anger.
Way.
It's anger that comes from disappointment. That's the most pure kind of anger, because it's like I really like. Before that point, I was like, yeah, Scorsese films, they're really great. And I saw this, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Scorsese.
It's just, I don't know. It just gets me riled up.
Do you want to move on to something a little lighter? That's sort of.
Sure, why not?
It touches what we've done a little bit, and that's the Oscars that happened. At the top of the year. We didn't go into it a whole lot because what did we really have to say about it? And neither of us actually participated in it. But
when did we even we started the show not long before that as well? So
I think it actually happened right before the filming of our second episode, which was the Blade Runner episode.
I think at that point we were still gaining steam, so we wouldn't have really talked about it anyways. That was before Full Circle was even a thing.
Yeah, that was before Full Circle even became a thing. But I just have a few stats on this, and we can comment on various films. The first one I want to mention is Blade Runner 2049. That did win 2 awards. It won for Best Cinematography and Best Visual Effects, which
very much deserves it.
I do agree. I hate to admit that I don't think I've seen any of the other films that were nominated in those categories. I would have to recheck the list, but I don't think I did. Unless Shape of Water had Best Visual Effects or Cinematography or something like that. But
I think it won like 5, and I'm trying to remember. I think they won Best Set Design.
Shape of Water. I actually do have that stuff written down. I just don't remember if it was nominated. But yeah, I think
it was.
I think that's pretty well deserved. We both watched the movie. We watched it together, didn't we? That was one of the ones.
Yeah, that was one of the few ones we were able to watch together. It was a really good one.
Yeah. I know. I remember you actually deliberately waited to watch. You had been wanting to watch that movie, but you waited to watch it so that we could
Yeah.
experience it at the same time for the show,
Yeah, exactly.
which later wouldn't matter. But
Right, but
didn't
it
that
was still fun.
was Blade Runner 2049? Was that the one with the Garbo credits? It just had credits with
Yes.
text so small we couldn't see who anyone was
It
credited
wasn't
as.
exactly like it was a combination. Like we could read the names, but the problem was that they had the actual title that they were listed under was in this like kind of blood red text that was so difficult to see on a blurry black background. It was like, what am I watching? And then it was also some of the tiniest text I've ever seen featured in a feature film. I was like, mother of God, I can't read any of this.
Who made this decision? Who made that creative choice to make the credits look like that?
I hated that shit.
Oh my
And
god!
they had that problem earlier on in the film when they were showing like crediting locations that the character was in, and I just couldn't read them. I was like, where the heck are we? And I had to kind of glean it through like assumptions. I was like, where the heck?
What?
Which, like, if anything, that kind of lended itself to it because it made it more mysterious. Like, where are we going now? What's this location? But it's like, no, it actually just made it confusing too.
Yeah.
So
Some things we're only just now discovering long after we did that episode.
yeah,
Just like, you know what? That really pissed me off.
yeah, we're very angry people when we think about it.
What else do I have here? I didn't include everything.
Yeah.
Because there were some things I didn't think either of us would have anything to say, like the whatever won best foreign film and stuff like that. Because I know we didn't watch it.
Right. Exactly.
Coco actually won 2.
Oh yeah, it got best animated, didn't it?
Yeah, it got best animated and it got best original song.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
It's I guess it's the one that they sing like 8 times in the film.
Yeah.
Remember me.
Yeah, I barely remember that film, honestly. I don't know why. It was a good film, but I don't remember a lot of it.
I think I remember when I watched it around the same time I first saw Moana, which was also earlier this year.
Yeah.
And my thing was I liked Coco better, but I thought I didn't like the songs, but I liked Moana's music. Like if I could have
Moana's music was great.
Yeah, I don't think obviously they wouldn't match up because the songs are integral to the plot in both features. That's how a lot of those musical films work. But if we could just if we could just exchange the music from one and the plot from another, we'd have a perfect movie.
We'd have a perfect movie and a pretty one.
One that doesn't really make sense and another that's just even worse.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I should have looked at the nominations. I really didn't. I don't even know what else would be up for Best Original Song. Did we have any musicals come out this year?
I mean, like for the previous Oscars, I definitely
not this
know.
year, for last year. But yeah, that's what I meant.
I really wouldn't know. I mean, it'd probably just be some extra some extra song that no one really even put together was original. It's just thrown into like some drama,
some animated thing.
Probably.
The Star, did that come out last year? About all the manger animals.
Oh yeah, I think so.
That's a movie I need to watch next year.
That's a Christmas Eve movie right there.
Yeah, I'll watch it with Annabelle. I didn't mean the one about the doll. I meant the one about the deer that.
Oh.
With the mute girl.
Oh, that one. Right. I really did think you meant the one with the doll.
No, that might not even be called Annabelle. It's something Bell, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anastasia? No. Okay.
It's, other good one, but still.
I have here Frances McDormand actually won Best Actress for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, I know you wanted to see that movie when it was in theaters. Did you ever get around to finally watching it?
Did not get around to seeing it, no. I really wish I had, because, oh my God. Like Frances McDormand and, who's the other guy? He plays, the police captain or something. He was, Zaphod Beeblebrox and everybody.
Oh, damn it. I can't remember, but I think he actually won Best Supporting Actor for that role.
Yeah,
as
he
well.
did. He
God,
did,
what
and
is
like
his name?
I love both of those guys. Like I think they're great actors, and I think McDormand super deserved that award.
Yeah, I mean that's
Just,
leading back to your Fargo experience too. That's like her other prominent
yeah,
role.
exactly. Yeah, it's like one of her biggest ones as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's so freaking cool. I'm trying
Um.
to remember other films she's been in, but at the moment I'm coming up blank.
Madagascar 3.
Madagascar 3 won something?
No, she was in Madagascar 3.
Oh, right.
Madagascar
I
3 came out
remember
like
now.
4 years ago.
I know. For a second there, I was like, I'm so confused. But yeah, I remember. I remember now.
Yeah,
Oh my
she
god.
was the Captain
Yeah,
Dubois.
I never ended up seeing it, um, but I at least remember it. Oh my god.
So we also this one surprised me just because I had not heard of this film until I wrote these notes down. But
Raising Arizona. That's where I remember from her from as well.
oh, okay. I was like, what?
Sorry.
No, that.
Yeah, sorry. No,
I
just
got
a
you.
random thought. Continue.
Going back to Nick Cage, everything's connected. Uh,
Full
Gary
circle.
Gary Oldman won Best Actor for playing Winston Churchill in the film Darkest Hour. I hadn't even heard of this movie. I didn't know that this was a movie that came out. I missed this.
I I had seen like a few like just TV previews of it and everything, and I was like, I'm weirdly not interested at all in this. Like, I don't know what it is about. I think I've just seen so many World War II, like especially like between Dunkirk and a couple other things. I've just seen so many things directly referencing Churchill lately that I just saw that and I was like, my eyes just totally glazed over at the concept. I was like, I really don't care. It's like there's like I like World War II movies, but like there's a certain point I just have to be like, look, can we maybe not focus on the like these world leader types because they're kind of dull. We get right down to it. Like they're very interesting and the speeches are very iconic, I know, but no one's here for them. We're here for the genuine stories of humanity and lack thereof with the actual war.
Be prepared because next year we'll get Even Darker Hour starring Richard Kind as I can't even finish that thought.
Yeah, like yeah, I don't know where you could go with that one. What is he playing, Hitler?
No, I was gonna say he's playing Henry Kissinger. I wasn't gonna make it a World War II thing. I was just who's someone else that does not deserve a film that we should just make a film out of? Oh, Henry Kissinger. Mussolini, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I've never seen a movie about him. I've seen multiple about Hitler, but
okay. Let's wrap up the Oscar portion because the final one is Shape of Water, which did win 4.
I thought it won 5.
It won 4 or 5. I only have 4 things written down that I had seen. Maybe there was a 4th.
Oh no, yeah, I think it was. I think it was only 4.
There might have been a 5th one that like was a smaller award at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't see it. It obviously won for Best Picture. It got Best Director for Guillermo del Toro.
Woo.
Best Production Design and Best Original Score.
Best production design, not best set design. It was production design.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on this film?
I still haven't seen it.
Okay.
I won't lie. But I still want to, but I do love the idea of it. I love the 50s and 60s art style a lot. Not art style, just like general aesthetic. Just the whole cool, like black box type government thing that the whole thing is centered around. I always love movies like that. So just in general, I think it's a very cool concept. But beyond that, I can't really give any definitive opinions on it. I think it's very cool having a mute, character with technically 2 mute characters.
Right. Though they have plenty of other characters speaking throughout the whole thing to...
Right.
So
I know it's a big movie with the monster fucker fans, which
that's
is
true.
which is an entire subgenre of fans now. As if like, did you see recently? This is kind of a tangent. Did
Oh,
you
that's
see
fine.
recently where Sony Pictures released a new trailer for Venom, the recent Venom movie, like as it's coming to DVD here soon, or if it isn't already, where it was like they released a trailer for it, and it was in the style of a romantic comedy. It was like between Eddie and the symbiote Venom. like,
No,
like it's incredible and horrible. I encourage you to look it up. It's so perfect,
I
for those
avoided.
reasons.
I kind of wanted to. I've been avoiding a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe because I just don't care. I didn't even care early on, but
Venom technically isn't part of the MCU since it's still Sony Pictures.
exactly, that's what I was going to say. Is
Oh yeah,
I've been avoiding that, but I really did want to see Venom in part because it just looks interesting. I think Spider-Man's the most interesting sub universe that they have in Marvel,
as
anyways. Uh,
as like so does Hollywood also thinks that, given there's been so many movies.
yeah, but I did want to see it, and now
Yeah,
I've been avoiding it like the plague because the Marvel fan base got to it first, and now
yeah.
even if it's a good movie, there's and it's kind of unfair to the film, but there's no possible way that I can watch it or enjoy it without thinking about weird Tumblr comics where Eddie is a chibi man treating Venom like a trash baby.
Uh, yeah,
I just
God,
can't.
yeah. I mean, I'm right with you there. Like I saw it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it. Well, I guess I shouldn't say. Um, and then I've kind of hanged myself on that one. But I did end up seeing it. I think that's pretty. I think it's really cool. I think the reviews are a bit too harsh. I would have liked it if it were rated R. Like I think Venom and the subsequent other symbiote characters really lend themselves to very violent characters, and I would have liked to see it kind of go whole hog with it, because like it pauses in the trailer. It's like the world. It says like the world has too many heroes, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of down with that. I want a more like, I want a good like anti-hero character, but the movie still ends up being about a more hero type, which was like a little disappointing, but it was still, the action was amazing. So it got a lot of points with me at least.
Yeah,
It's
I
and I,
want villain movies that aren't like origin stories. Just give me a movie where a villain is like trying to do something,
yeah,
please.
yeah. It's like that's the problem. That's the problem with Hollywood. Everyone likes an origin story. Everyone likes seeing the character, because that's how you get the most character growth. But it's kind of hard to do that over a long period of time. Because at a
Right.
certain point, you have to be like, "Are you done yet?" It's like, have you grown up enough to be an actual character now, or are we still having origin story here?
I think character growth can be even more effective if it's a character that we already have established and we see them through something that happens, not even necessarily start to change, but you see their mood or attitude be affected by it. I think that's way more
I think, I
effective
think,
than just seeing, oh, this is how they came to be. You can see the character growth here. It's basically an easy way to add character growth to one of those movies, I think, is because they don't have to really try. It's like, oh, well, the character's always in a down part of their life and there's a catalyst that happens. And,
yeah,
whenever people are down, it's really easy to mold or shape their thoughts or their ideologies.
yeah.
So you
I
barely
think,
have to try.
I think this is one of the things that movies will never be able to do as well as a lot as TV shows. Like, I do like the trend lately, because with the trend of not necessarily mini series, but more dramatic series, like things like Boardwalk Empire and Game of Thrones, where are actually with these characters for a significant portion of time, so you can see a natural character growth that you really can't get with movies. And I've been meaning to watch more of Boardwalk Empire because it's a really great show. Um, but it's that is like, and I think that's also, and I had hoped the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, would have done something like that. The problem though is that every single movie is by a different director usually, including sequels to within one property. Or like, cause there was like a big thing that people were annoyed about with after Thor Ragnarok, which everyone posits is one of the best Marvel movies ever. After that, once Thor's character was brought into Infinity War right afterwards, different director, different writers, different everything, they changed his character once again that from Ragnarok. And so there's no actual growth. It's just a constant changing whims of different directors and different like executives being like, this character has to be like this now for this particular story. And it's like there's no actual growth. It's every character is different movie to movie.
Right.
So there's nothing that's actually consistent and anything I can count on. So I've actually gotten really down on the Marvel movies for that very reason, because all the characters just kind of suck at this point. Like at least the ones that everyone like always trumps up. Like like there's a certain point I have to go, all right, Tony Stark as a person, really just a douchebag. And all these movies have just been illustrations of that. There's been no actual growth.
Yeah.
It's just been him getting the crap kicked out of him in different ways, and him supposedly being more philosophical about it. But it's like, no, he's just the same douche.
Literally out of the entire MCU, I think I've seen 3 of those movies.
That's
Honestly, yeah. I think I've seen 3 of them. I saw the first Iron Man. I saw the first Thor. No, not the first Thor. The first Captain America. And I saw the first Avengers film. Those are the 3 that I saw.
That's pretty much all you need to see, in my opinion.
Honestly, I have seen enough of that stuff online. Not even, obviously not searching for it, just in feeds on various websites I frequent and social media platforms. I could probably tell you every single plot point in the entire MCU canon. And I've seen 3 of the movies.
It's easy. It's very easy.
Just because people talk about it all the time. But from what I've seen, and I think the directing thing probably is a big factor in it too, like you were talking about. If this were a TV show, or if it were serialized as several mini-series or something that were connected on TV, would less people watch it? Definitely.
Yeah.
Cable and satellite, those things have been slowly being dwindled. If this was on a streaming platform, then it'd be different. But I think it would be... I think it'd be better. I don't think people would be getting as mad with it as with how long it's been going on. Because with TV, it's different. Shows go on for like 20 years before people start to realize this might be a problem. So they could have done a lot of this on TV or a streaming service already, and they probably would have had the same director working through the whole thing. We would have gotten... Production values would have been lower, sure, but it would have been more consistent. The flow would have been more natural. There would be more character growth. Themes would be similar, as well as like the way the films are shot, because there wouldn't constantly be changing production staff. I don't know. That's just a thought I have.
That being said, of the few Marvel shows, like TV shows that actually exist, the Marvel TV shows have kind of sucked. Like, with the exception of with a couple of the more recent Netflix series, which have all been subsequently canceled. But like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think it's like, there's another one that I can't remember, but like I've seen episodes of it. They're not good. Like, I think that only also just because they're competing for funding alongside the big budget movies, but I think having them as movies probably would have been the best, at least for a quality product. But the fact that they've been going on so long and so inconsistently is my problem.
Right. And I don't mean that the shows that are I haven't seen the Marvel shows. I think I saw like one episode of Daredevil, but so I can't really comment on their quality. However, for what I'm saying with the connectedness and all that, I think that it would work better through long-form storytelling to do it as like a television show or a miniseries. Lots of people love the movies. I really did like the first Iron Man.
I still defend the first Iron Man's the best of the whole bunch. Like, because it actually... I've hated how much it's just gone from... It's gone into its more fantastical elements, which is, like, fine. and I've always been the type to be like, oh, they get like DC movies are too gritty, they get too depressing. It's like I still defend that the first Iron Man is incredibly comparatively realistic, and it's very cool to see in a contemporary setting. And I was hoping that's what all the subsequent movies were gonna do, but they really didn't. They really dropped that one hard.
Yeah.
Like they just immediately, like once Captain America hit the scene, they started just going into the more fantastical stuff. Like even when Thor was there, they sort of kept it semi-grounded. But
Right.
after that, it was just like it was gone.
Right. But I mean, like I was saying, a lot of people like those movies. I like the first Iron Man. That's fine. The production value is great. They look great.
Oh yeah.
But for what they're trying to do with an interconnected cinematic universe, this long form storytelling, I don't think works well through the format of movies. Obviously, I'm proven wrong by the box office, but if you look at the pure quality of it, I think anyone would agree that it's consistently going downhill. And the only reason people were all into Infinity War is because it was like the climax. People that stuck around that long felt like they needed to see it because they've stuck around that long, and people that probably missed a couple films here and there went to see it because this could be the end. A lot of people didn't know there was going to be a fourth one after that because they didn't know how it was going to end. But
Yeah. I, I think, which I'm kind of surprised by because like they had established that that Infinity War was going to be a two-parter years ago. Like
oh,
when
really? I hadn't heard that.
I think like there like I still remember there were early production photos where it said Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 rather than Infinity War and now being revealed as Endgame. It's just
Do you think
like
maybe the reveal of the title Infinity War without the part 1 maybe made people feel that it was now a condensed story?
maybe I don't really know. Like like mostly I just kind of knew for a fact like they were bringing up and get like well not like they were bringing in like end boss level stuff. I knew for a fact that they were going to drag it out just from normal movie logic, but you
Right,
know,
it
like
makes sense, but I from what I've seen from a lot of people, they're like Infinity War should have they could have just made it an hour longer and just condensed it here and there, and they could have finished it once and for all. Which even
right.
Endgame, okay, well now Endgame probably will be the end for a lot of that Marvel stuff because there's various actors that are like, I'm done with the
Oh, there's
character after this.
oh yeah, there's a bunch of
So
like it's all but confirmed that both Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are done at least, and that being Captain America and Iron Man.
which
But
good. Even if they were
yeah,
still having
thank
fun doing it, actors don't normally like being pigeonholed into roles like that, anyways.
like Robert Downey Jr. I'm pretty sure at one point definitely was like, yeah, I don't want to do the character anymore. It's like, which like fair enough. At that point, you make enough movie money to buy fucking God, and so it's like, you know what, I'm kind of done.
Yeah,
And then Chris Evans, I think, just was just like, no, this is a natural conclusion of the character. And then I'm sure a few of the other actors are gone as well because there's definitely the air of a bunch of younger actors being brought in, like the new like Captain Marvel coming out here soon. I think that's going to be a big spearhead for like the next phase of all the movies, which I really hope these things don't last too much longer. But
you know what?
I
Just
know
keep
there's
screw the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just keep making Spider-Man films. I like Spider-Man. I've liked Spider-Man
yep
since I was a kid, and I'll continue to keep watching Spider-Man movies regardless of who is in them.
yep same. Like, what is it about Spider-Man that's just been such a universally loved character?
Well, it's a lot easier for kids to get into superhero stuff than adults are. Obviously, now with this quote unquote nerd culture, ugh, or whatever you want to
Ugh.
call it, more
Pop culture. It's a pop culture culture.
yeah, but more adults are still into that stuff. But Spider-Man is really easy to get into as a kid because he has always been a high school slash usually high school, but sometimes college student. So
Yeah,
he's more
yeah.
identifiable than almost any other character that Marvel has.
Hmm.
Which is why I had all that Spider-Man stuff growing up. I had the game on PS1, and I had a large like painting that I got for Christmas one year of just the Spider-Man head, and it hung in my room for the longest time.
Yeah, that's why the quality of the character really just is really summed up with the recent, most recent Spider-Man video game being like the fastest selling, one of the fastest selling like PlayStation exclusives ever. and like I think it's considered one of the best-selling games ever.
It was in my top 5 favorite games of the year.
Oh yeah,
I actually made a
I'd
list of that not too long ago.
I should probably make a list of mine. It'd probably be pretty simple.
I was
Not a
doing
lot
mine
came
for a
out for that
site.
year.
What?
Not a whole lot came out for games this year, did it?
Uh, I mean, God of War, Red Dead 2, The Messenger, and Spider-Man
Yeah,
were
I don't
probably
even
the
remember
ones
the
that
Messenger.
Sorry?
I don't even remember the Messenger.
The Messenger came out like 2 months ago. It was it's like a Ninja Gaiden style game, retro throwback, but
Oh,
it does that for
no.
maybe the first 30 to 40 minutes, and then things start to go crazy. It gets meta, it opens up, it adds RPG elements, it adds a wide map, there's time travel, there's 8-bit to 16-bit like translation in the middle of levels. It's great.
I really don't remember this one at all. I'll need to look that up.
I think it was only on PC and Switch, and I played it on Switch.
Okay.
But yeah, we've gotten a little off base.
Yeah, just a touch.
I just have a bit to say about Shape of Water, if you remember.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what happened.
This is what we do, people. This is our normal conversation style. There have been times where we've literally had to cut segments from the show because we get it off on tangents.
Right, but this is the perfect place for that.
Exactly. It's a little fireside chat.
So for Shape of Water, I actually did see it, and I loved the movie. I still cannot believe that it won Best Picture. I was
Really?
going through the list of Best Picture films, and it's like, this is not a Best Picture movie. If you look at anything the Academy has picked, like, it is not. Okay, so probably the most jarring scene to me in that movie, and I'm not spoiling anything by saying this because it's technically a dream sequence.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a sequence in that movie because it's established that this mute main character watches these musicals with one of the neighbors in her building that she's really close with. And she watches
Right.
these old black and white musicals, and she tap dances while sitting on the couch. She has a black and white musical sequence where she's singing and tap dancing with the amphibious creature in front of a crowd of... I was like, this is not a scene that I ever thought I would see in a movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars. And I'm glad that it did, but I'm still reeling months later that it happened.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing. Like,
I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's like, like this is the same Academy that fucking like picked. The artist didn't win Best Picture, did it?
It was at least nominated. I don't know if it won.
I know the main actor won Best Actor, but it's like this is the same Academy that gave that a consideration, where it's like, it's so into itself that, like they're like we've talked about it before. There's so many movies about Hollywood itself that there's a certain point where we have to be like, all right, shush. And the fact that they picked The Shape of Water, which I guess in and of itself is also kind of still old self-referential with like
It
older
has
musicals.
some of that stuff in there, yes. There's plenty of scenes, well, by plenty, I mean 2 or 3, where she or the monster, or she and the monster, are in a theater while an old Technicolor movie is playing, and all the black and white musicals. There's plenty of that stuff, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But it's always fun. I say always, but I can't really think of many examples. It's fun to see a movie that breaks like traditional formats for Best Picture winners, and it gets the win. Like, I love Silence of the Lambs, but I really do wish Beauty and the Beast had won Best Picture that year, 1992.
Wow, quite
That would have been
the
the
range
first
that year.
that would have been the first animated movie to win Best Picture.
Yeah, has one has won Best Picture, right?
Animated movie? No.
Really?
No. I think that's one of the reasons they finally introduced the category for Best Animated Film. Because they're just like, these are never going to win.
That's fair.
But Beauty
Good
and the
old
Beast,
Academy.
I think Beauty and the Beast might be the only animated film to ever be nominated for Best Picture.
Right. Which, like, I want to agree with you, but I also do have a huge love of Silence of the Lambs, so I can't, like, mostly I have a love of it, mostly because it's one of the only few films to win the big five at the Oscars, that being Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture.
Right. Okay.
I think it's one of only three that's gone that. One of them was It Happened One Night, and shit, I can't remember the third one.
It Happened One Night's one of the earlier ones too.
Exactly, that was one of the ones where there wasn't a lot of competition for it. Crap, I cannot remember the third one. Was it? Oh, it was I think it was One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, really? Okay.
I want to say that. That might be wrong though.
So I have news here. Breaking news: 2011, The Artist did win Best Picture.
I freaking knew it. I could have sworn that it did.
And here's what
I
it was
couldn't
up
remember.
against: Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Moneyball, Steven Spielberg's War Horse, and The Tree of Life. But that movie kind of sucked.
That was an interesting year, and a lot of like, not a whole lot of amazing movies on there. I never saw Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, so I couldn't say anything about it. But all the other ones, I'm like, huh.
Hugo's fantastic.
Hugo was fantastic, but I definitely didn't.
Talk about
think
another
it was...
Scorsese film.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, props to the guy for having range.
Yeah.
And like, I think I'm also just kind of down on Hugo because I read the book, and the book is as with any case, the book is pretty much always better. And the effects in Hugo always for some reason kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. It seemed very, it seemed like one of those movies that had a lot of those like misty effects where it's like this is just clearly covering up for bad editing. But like I still liked it, but I definitely didn't think it would have been. It should have gotten movie of the year, which obviously it didn't, but still.
Yeah. I mean, while we're saying this, I know sort of bits about The Artist, but I haven't seen it, so I guess it's kind of unfair for me to actually say whether or not it should have won.
I don't think it should have. But I do understand that it did in the year that it came out. There's not a whole lot of huge competition. It's like, I say that as one of the movies. It's Spielberg's War Horse, which I adore, but I also think it did have a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was very inconsistent with its tone, which I think was kind of the point. But that kind of, when you're watching a movie, that doesn't really change the fact that okay, this feels inconsistent. It's like deliberately inconsistent still feels inconsistent. So.
Right. That compared to, sorry, I'm just thinking of this because I have the list in front of me, but compared to 2014, like we have Birdman, we have The Imitation Game, we have Selma, and we have Whiplash. And I like all of those movies.
I still haven't seen Whiplash. But,
oh God,
wait,
you should.
Wait, which one? Wait, which one was Whiplash?
Whiplash is about J.K. Simmons, like being the most abusive music teacher ever, and this young boy like being a drummer.
Yeah. I remember. I do remember that. Yeah, I never ended up seeing it, but I know about it.
God, yeah, that movie's great.
Man, that was quite the year. My God.
I like Birdman, but I might have gave Whiplash I just loved Whiplash. I might have gave it to that, but I'm not on the board.
Yeah, I think after having watched, I think I still remember after I first watched Birdman, I literally said out loud, "It's like that's one of the greatest movies ever made." I can't say it's one of my favorites. It's a hard movie to watch, and it's a hard movie to watch twice for sure. But my God, is it a movie?
No, it's one of those that like makes you cringe constantly.
But like, it's incredible.
I agree.
Like, my God, and it definitely deserved it. It won Best Picture, didn't it?
Sorry, what did?
Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman won that year, 2014.
Yeah, like that. It deserved it, if only because like, I'm a sucker for cool shot style and like how it was shot, meant to seem like one consistent shot, which is always kind of a losing battle because there's gonna like the editing it lives and dies on its editing. Which, fun fact, I actually did see another film after the fact. It was called Catherine, I believe. It's a German film, but it's mostly in English. It is legitimately a movie that is shot entirely in one take, and it's
Oh,
incredible.
like
I gotta find it.
like Rope, or
I
quote
I guess
unquote like Rope.
I don't know. I don't know that movie.
I'm pretty sure that's it. It was that Alfred Hitchcock film, and people always taught it as
Oh,
being like filmed in one take. But I think there's two instances where someone
yeah, I
walks in
remember
front of the
that.
camera, and that's where he
Yeah,
cuts
that's
it.
the and they do the same thing with Birdman. There's a lot of scenes that like they do scene transit. They do like a camera looks down at the ground and then looks back up. It's very smoothly done, but you can still tell.
Right.
This one, like Catherine, legitimately one consistent shot. Like I've watched it twice now, and I've tried to look through it. It's if it's not one shot, it's some of the best editing I've ever seen. Um, it is so cool, and it's a very dramatic. It's basically just the filming of like this one night following this one girl and this crazy shit she gets up to. Um, it's like it's actually done in real time, so I like that a lot. But it's so cool, and my favorite detail about it is that when it finally ends and it starts the credits, the very first credit and the only credit it gives on the screen first is for the cameraman, and
Oh,
it's
that
just
is
like
cool.
yeah, I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, the person who deserves the most recognition for that is that cameraman, because my god, it's so cool and so well done.
I should go
And
to
like,
see that.
I'm pretty sure it's called Catherine, but I'll need to double check on it. It's a German film.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's great.
All right. Get that down.
And it's not an upper of a film, I should warn, by the way.
Oh no, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, that's another one I remembered recently. Yeah, there's some. I wish that one had gotten more recognition. It was pretty much an indie flick, but I'm pretty sure it was all one shot. It was really cool.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
We've gotten to the part of our evening where we're going a little mental.
Do you? Okay. I don't have much else to. I don't have anything else for the Oscars
Right.
this year.
I mean, hell, we could
Basically,
just talk. We could just talk about all the different, nominations of the Oscars throughout the years.
throughout the year.
At least recently. It's like,
Boy.
what did 2015 have? If you're still open on it, I'm kind of curious now.
2015. I don't have it open. Hold on.
I mean, if you can find it, is all.
It's like going
It's
back
just like
one page is all.
it's nice. It's cool thinking about that because it's like I go through, and I've mentioned it before. I go through phases of me believing Hollywood is dead, and then some other group of like collection of movies coming out, and I'm being like, oh, okay, we're back in it. And then 2 years later, it immediately happens again. I'm currently in a down period and a low point of it because with the announcement of all these Disney remakes coming out, I'm just like, all right, there's creativity is dead. And the last time it happened for me was when that movie Jack the Giant Slayer came out, where it's a gritty reboot of Jack and the Beanstalk, which is like, oh my god, kill me.
Finally, a gritty
What?
reboot for me.
But yeah, and then the last couple of years have been pretty great for movies. Like, I mean, 2014 being like a pretty prime example, and then I think it was last year or the year before Baby Driver came out. That's been one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years.
Wasn't that
If
last
not,
year? I think that was last year.
I think it was last year, yeah.
All
But
right.
it was that one was probably one of my favorite ones of the decade for sure.
Do you wanna try and go into that? Movies that
What do
are
you mean?
coming out next year.
Oh yeah, that's if we can like. Oh, that's gonna be something.
I mean, there are some things of note. I mean, obviously the Avengers Endgame, which we already talked in great lengths about, kind of. So I'm not going into that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
Toy Story 4, which is like,
Toy Story 4. I read. I don't know if this is true. It could be apocryphal, but I swear I read a story about Toy Story 4 where it's like they know what the plot is, and it's like a spork with arms that the kid that owns them made is given sentience and they have to teach it how to be a toy.
I think that might be a theory of it because there's a teaser trailer that come out. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it just shows all the characters just kind of like rotating around in like kind of a ring around the rosy circle thing, and at one point it rotates around to the spork and he's having like an existential crisis being like, I'm not a real toy, ah, and like I think that's what people are maybe guessing from that, which would be a fair guess. I'm sure that's probably like an inciting action to the film, but you know, I can't say for sure.
Apparently Tom Hanks cried. I keep seeing that Tom Hanks cried recording his lines.
Oh my god.
It's like, okay. If it was anyone else, I would just groan, but Tom Hanks is like nice guy Tom Hanks. I've never seen anything bad about the man, ever.
Good point. Yeah, it's like
I bet
King
he
of Hollywood
probably
for a
did.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Don Rickles is like deceased though, so is he gonna be in the movie? Did he already record his lines?
Remind me, who did he play?
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I mean, his character's featured in the teaser, so. I mean, maybe they just have someone new.
I know Estelle Harris is still alive, so maybe they'll just have her be like, "My husband's missing. Where'd he go?"
And then they just never resolve it.
He's just gone.
It's just like bum bye.
Oh well. I mean, Slinky Dog's in the trailer too, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Jim Varney has been dead since the second Toy Story, and he was the voice of Slinky Dog.
They definitely replaced him.
Did they? Oh no.
Yeah, because he's in Toy Story 3 as well.
Was he? I saw Toy Story 3 in theaters, and I don't remember.
I think he has a pretty minor role.
Okay. Huh.
I'm just looking at the list come out. Is like the next Godzilla movie, which if it's anything like the last Godzilla movie, I don't care for it at all.
You know what? I'm not getting my hopes up at all because I usually try not to, and I did see the Godzilla movie that came out with barely Bryan Cranston.
To tear apart.
Yeah, but
yeah, barely Bryan Cranston and barely Godzilla.
But if there's any reason for me to be excited as a Godzilla fan, is that there are actual Toho monsters that are going to be in it, rather than some weird thing that America made up.
Yeah, the fucking Mudo thing.
Yeah, we got Mothra, we got King Ghidorah, and who? Gigan? I don't remember the third one.
Oh, Rodan.
Rodan, that's it.
But like that's what I'm worried about because they're doing like the fucking Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing where it's like they're bringing not even the Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing. They're just doing a thing where they bring in all of them at once, whereas each of these guys has on their own held multiple movies as the sole enemy of Godzilla. It's like, how are they like? It means they're not going to show off these characters nearly as much as they deserve to be.
That's true, and
so I'm really worried about it.
That's true, but I'd rather them do that just to show off the monsters a little bit than for them to try and do a Godzilla cinematic universe.
They already are. There's already plans for there to be a movie like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right, but these are just like a series of movies rather than having a bunch of them spider webbing into each other.
That's a good point. I just know for a fact that it's this is actually a cool trope that I've known about for a long time. It's the idea of a movie with one ninja versus a movie with lots of ninjas. The more ninjas you have, the weaker they actually are.
What about
if
3
you have an
ninjas?
Army, then that is the optimum number.
That's why those movies are so good.
Exactly. But yeah, it's kind of just been the joke for a long time. It's like if it's a character that is typically godlike and powerful on their own, is brought in with multiple characters of the same stature, each of them is immediately weaker and less significant. Which is like you're bringing in hard hitters like King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra all at once in just a 2-hour movie, in a series that has previously completely pushed Godzilla to the wayside. I'm not excited. I'm incredibly pessimistic about this one because I'm going into it wanting monster battles. I guarantee there's not going to be monster battles. There's going to be like the couple of those little teases that they did in the first one again. Because I know there's a scene, because there's a part in the most recent trailer where it shows Ghidorah and Godzilla charging towards each other, and then they hit, and then it shows the boom, like it gives you the title drop. That is exactly the sign that in the actual movie it's going to be they actually hit, and then it cuts away from them, and then you don't actually see the fight. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. I'm just going to be like, ugh.
That's probably true. You know what? What the I know they won't do this because they have the King Kong thing planned, but the way I would want it to be is to have even more Toho monsters in there. Like, screw 3. Put as many as possible in there. Put in Gigan. Put in Biolante. Put in Anguirus. I think that's the name of the porcupine one. Just put in all of them and have a huge brawl where Godzilla just kills all of them. And then maybe do a sequel that ends the trilogy where aliens come down with Mechagodzilla and those two fight. Just do that.
Yeah, like
that's
let's go
what I
balls
want.
to the wall on this one.
Yeah, just put all the Toho ones in there and just have Godzilla wreck them all.
Yeah, because that's the only way you can properly show off Godzilla. Because Godzilla's a bamf.
Yeah, and then have a spin-off where Gamera goes to a children's hospital and sings to them.
Sure. Man.
Those are my dreams.
And like I want it to be cool, but I'm really realizing at this point nothing's gonna top Pacific Rim. I refuse to believe it. Pacific Rim was the peak of it, and that's all I need to know. Oh my god!
Clearly, you haven't seen some of those old Godzilla films.
Well, no, I haven't seen a lot of them. I probably should, but you know, I'll still defend it. Also, I'm just looking at more stuff on the list. It has just the there's that one like origin Joker movie coming out or whatever, and it's literally it just says Joker. It doesn't have I guess it doesn't have a definitive title yet, and it doesn't have a poster. It's just a zoom in on Joaquin Phoenix's face in makeup, and it's just like, ugh. It's like, why?
That goes back to what I was talking about earlier. I remember when that was announced, and I was like, oh, so Joker origin story, or they're going to try to do Joker origin. Because there's no way they would just have a Joker movie where he does something. It has to be the origin story, which even the comics, for the 2 or 3 origins they've created for him, they still don't have definitive proof of where he came from. Even the Red Hood thing is apocryphal, apparently.
Which I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah, it makes him cooler that way.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have an actual name. He has, like, 10 aliases that he goes by.
Right.
Whatever.
Oh, there's going to be another... Oh, the next John Wick. Oh, there's a... Okay, so there's going to be the third John Wick movie, and the fucking subtitle for it is apparently Parabellum. What the heck does Parabellum mean?
Like cerebellum?
Hang on, I'm Googling this. Parabellum.
Parabellum.
A type... Oh, fucking... It's literally, Parabellum, noun, a type of semi-automatic pistol or machine gun.
Oh.
So, John Wick 3, gun.
I gotta say, Keanu Reeves looks stupid as hell in this poster.
He really does. What the heck is this?
He's standing, like, absolutely still, I guess getting a suit tailored for him because someone has one of those measuring things up on his shoulder. And he's just looking dead in the camera.
You and I are looking at different ones. The one that's featured isn't even a poster. It's literally just a picture of Keanu Reeves, like, dressed in character, just, like, bloodily, like, trotting in the rain.
That also sounds dumb.
It's very dumb. It's very funny.
This one looks like it. This poster makes it look like the movie takes place in the antebellum South. Like, this suit looks like it's from 1850.
I gotta find this poster.
I'll try to link it to you. Let me save this image. Do you remember the commercial we got during Halloween for the Pet Sematary remake?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's happening. I like
Forgot about
John
that one.
Lithgow. I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff, so you know what? That's give me another
Um,
movie with John Lithgow in it.
is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood an original movie? Like a, is that has that been a movie? Because that sounds familiar.
Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America. I think it's just a
Uh,
phrase of the Once Upon a Time, but yeah, isn't that
well,
Tarantino's?
there's a Quentin Tarantino Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which that's coming out next year, and it's I guess it's kind of staying with the Western trope. It says in 1969 Los Angeles, a former Western star and his longtime stunt double struggle to find success in a Hollywood they don't recognize anymore. So I guess it's kind of sticking with that trope.
Did the movie change? Because I thought it had to do with the Manson murders.
I, I mean, I guess not.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt.
Huh. Well, the last movie I saw the both of them in was great, so
Which one was that?
it was a little film called The Departed.
Oh shit!
I'm
Wait a
sure
minute.
they've done something else since then.
Brad. This is the second time you said that. Brad Pitt isn't in The Departed.
I'm thinking of Matt Damon again.
Exactly. It's like Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, and Brad Pitt. Like, I don't even know how you get those two mixed up. Brad Pitt isn't a lot like them.
No, it's not that any of them are alike. It's just like white guy actor. Like
Yeah,
I
okay,
do
yeah,
that
fair.
all the time.
Yeah, Brad Pitt definitely is. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt have ever been in a movie together.
Possibly not.
I mean, I'm sure they probably have. They're such big names, but still, it's just funny to think about.
I'll
But
think
yeah, that's
about it.
another one.
All right,
That's coming out.
I just sent this image to you. It's the one
Oh,
to the
okay.
far. I sent it to you over email, not over Discord. It's the one to the far right, obviously, because it shows Keanu Reeves in it.
Right.
So while
I've
you're
yet to
looking
receive
at
it,
that,
but I'll let you know.
oh yeah, yeah. So following up on that, Detective Pikachu, we talked about a little bit.
God.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for anything that's like. It sounds so stupid. I can't help but be excited for it.
Also, I just got it. It's like, the image. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean. I think it's mostly just because the collar is really tall.
I also think it's the background. It looks like he's in like one of those old mansions, right? I know it's just a door frame,
potentially. It's either that or it's like an old style tailor's shop, which is kind
Yeah.
of the aesthetic of that whole series, I guess.
I mean, it's also his facial hair, even though I know that's just the character. I think a lot of it plays into itself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And his hair's parted down the middle. Oy.
Which I think he did before, but when it's gelled up like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
alright.
But no, yeah, again, not talking too much about that, but I am looking forward to that.
Yep. The Men in Black International, very excited for that one.
Oh yeah, doesn't that have what's his name from Thor?
Chris Hemsworth, and
Yeah,
then
Can
the
never
other
remember
actress.
his name.
It was the other actress who played actually Valkyrie in Ragnarok with him.
Really?
I can't remember her name.
Ooh, co-stars.
Yeah, I am very excited for that one because the last Men in Black was very disappointing,
Yeah.
and I actually really like that series.
What do you do when you run out of ideas? Time travel? Yes.
Time travel. No, how you actually structure that joke is time travel. What do you do when you run out of ideas?
Yes. That's
That's like my favorite. It's a trope on Tumblr where it's like people reblog multiple posts that have things in it, like multiple posts so that they appear in certain order. And this one, it was like two posts that goes, and then I fuck my time machine. First, I build my time machine.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that one.
No, it's like
Yeah,
whenever a franchise is running out of steam, but you still want to make another movie to get like more money, you
Yep.
either send them to space or you send them back in time. Well, Men in Black, like aliens, they're already from space, so we can't really do that unless we put Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones on a rocket ship, which I guess they could have done.
Yeah.
But time travel is another acceptable alternative.
Mm-hmm.
We have Rocket Man, which I am just now hearing about, an Elton John biopic.
Yeah, with Taron Egerton. think is the main guy there.
Yeah.
Which I'm a big fan of that actor.
Oh, what's his
There's
name
gonna
that
be
directed Eddie the Eagle is doing it? Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Huh. Ugh,
It's gonna be a
Aladdin.
Zombieland 2 apparently.
I did hear about that.
Didn't know about that one.
Well, unfortunately, Bill Murray won't be in that one, so.
Ah well, worthless.
Worthless. Aladdin,
there's-
Godzilla, Secret of Pets, The Secret Life
And
of Pets.
And of course, the one that has been the subject of some ridicule on our group chat. You might know what I'm about to talk about.
Oh, that one, that's coming out in like December, isn't it?
Yep.
They gave themselves
Sonic
a lot of time.
Sonic the freaking Hedgehog, the movie. Oh my god.
The more and more I've been talking about it, the more and more I realize that Jim Carrey is probably the perfect person for Robotnik.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I really can't say anything a definitive opinion about any of these things. It's gonna be so weird.
Yeah, it's another one I'm probably gonna go see in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it cannot be good. It can't be good.
It just can't.
We have got to experience this
for it to
together.
be good.
Oh,
my god, we're gonna get everybody together.
we need to try to do a midnight showing of that. Find somewhere that's having a midnight release of it and go see it like when it comes out.
Yes.
So, additionally, something I had not heard about until just now, Shaft is back.
What?
Yeah, can you dig it? Shaft's going to be back next year in a movie called Shaft.
I mean, all right. Last time I had seen of him was that Steel movie.
Steel?
Was that one with like Shaq that he played like a superhero thing?
What? I don't
I
think
don't
I've
know.
seen this. Wait,
I don't know.
Shaq?
I think.
Shaq? What is Shaq in Shaft?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
Apparently, this new Shaft is going to have all previous iterations of Shaft. So the one from the original blaxploitation film in the 70s, Samuel L. Jackson, who played him in 2000, and then Jesse Usher, who is apparently the new one. So apparently, it's going to be 3 generations of Shaft in the same film.
Well then, that's something.
Good for them.
They are fully within their rights to do that.
Yeah, they could do whatever they want. To be honest, like so much stuff, there's so many things that just aren't sticking out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really compete with like Sonic the Hedgehog as being basically our headliner.
Yeah, you really can't. Okay, here's something. This animated Addams Family movie that's coming out, every time I see this image, I doubt it's a poster, it's probably promotional.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the character designs.
Really?
And
I don't think I've seen anything about it.
I hope the movie looks like this. Except for Uncle Fester. His head looks like an egg on its side, and I'm not a fan. But besides that, they all have really good designs, and it's sleek. I hope that's good. What?
Angry Birds 2.
Yes, Angry Birds 2.
Kill me.
Okay.
I want to die.
We're getting Kingsman 3.
I'm kind of surprised, honestly.
I don't think the second one did that well. I didn't like it all that much.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. This was also just kind of bad.
Elton John was in it. Remember?
Yeah. Remember when Elton John was in it? Remember when they kept reminding you that Elton John was in it?
Remember when he got the final kill of the movie?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the final one. I think it might have been the
close.
penultimate one before the you find
Something
out
like
that
that.
what's his name is a double agent. Okay.
Ooh, also The Missing Link, which is another
Oh,
Leica film.
Leica, yes! I remember
Yep.
seeing that. I'm so excited for that. I
Woo!
even
Good
as
old
down
like him bringing up the rear.
even as down as I've been on the ending of Kubo and the Two Strings and how I think it could have been better, I still really like that movie.
Oh, definitely.
I I don't think I've
I,
really disliked any of the things Leica has done.
I think a lot of Leica's endings can kind of be anticlimactic sometimes, except for the ones that are based off of original properties like Coraline.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean that's fine. It's still incredible movies. I figure after what would probably be months or years of making that film, once you get to the end, you're probably just like, all right, let's just wrap this up.
Okay, we're about done here.
It's like the thing where I saw, this isn't Leica, but it's I saw it was the filmmaking process of a one scene from Isle of Dogs, where it was this like close up shot of a character making sushi. It apparently took like 2 months to make, and it's like a 20-second scene. It's like, all right, I appreciate you guys, but my God, you're insane.
That stuff is expensive to do.
Oh yeah, my God. I mean, again, but seriously, bless them. Like some of the greatest filmmakers of the age.
Okay, you know what? The
What?
Box Trolls was kind of boring.
It was.
I
but
forgot that
I
they
loved
did
the
it.
look of it.
Really?
I loved the look of it. I think it's one of my favorite ones visually.
Uh,
Kubo's probably my definitive favorite visually, but that's, well, they're all great visually, so they're each unique in their own way.
my favorite is the creepy anthropomorphic rabbit segment from Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Um,
So we're getting a Wicked movie next year.
we are. I'm actually kind of excited for that.
Me too.
Both me and my girlfriend love that musical.
I actually haven't
I-
seen the musical, but I did read the book when it came out.
I could probably. Are there any legitimate recordings of that fucking musical?
There's
'Cause
got to
I've
be a
seen
sound. There's a soundtrack out there. There has to be.
Because I won't lie, I viewed a pirated version of it. It's like I would gladly pay for a legitimate version of it if they would offer one, but they haven't. So
Well, that's just the way it is with Broadway. A lot of that's a lot. I'm not even Broadway, off Broadway too. A lot of plays and musicals done on live stage are not taped or recorded.
it's just the stupidest thing, and people are always like, "Oh, Broadway's dying." It's because the tickets are hundreds of dollars, and it's in other cities. I'm not gonna pay upwards of $1,000 to go see one show.
Yeah.
Like, just let us buy a copy of it, and we'll be done with it.
I would buy
Or-
so many copies of
Yeah,
so
I'd
many
buy more than
different
one.
things.
I'd buy more than one just to support them. It's like, fucking yeah, you guys deserve it. You guys make incredible things, and you keep hoarding it to yourselves.
Yeah.
You dicks.
Well, I mean, that's kind of it. There's some other
Yeah.
things, but I think we've already mentioned them in the past, like Frozen 2. I remember talking about the Melissa McCarthy Christmas thing that's gonna happen. Like,
Mhm.
so
There's this Wonder Park thing that's coming out that actually looks kind of fun.
this what?
It's called Wonder Park. It's a kids movie. It's pretty straightforward, but excuse me. um, but it looks cute enough, like some funny acting and stuff.
Wonder Park.
It's just like a pretty generic.
Oh,
Like,
I think I had a trailer for that in Christopher Robin.
yeah.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, I
they-
remember
they,
this.
They released a more full trailer recently, but before that, it was just It was just a teaser. But it's like the whole premise. It's like, little girl makes up this like fantastical theme park, gets older and becomes more cynical about it, and then she like ends up being transported into the actual real life version of that theme park,
Yeah.
and it's like insanity ensues.
Wow, it's Christopher Robin, but with little girl. Okay.
Basically,
All right. Well,
yeah, that one looks cute.
that's all for
Beyond
that
that, I have
list.
no idea.
Closing that down.
Yeah. Let's stop thinking about the inevitable uncreative future.
Yeah, let's talk about something a lot more. You know what? Let's talk about something that's a lot more like upbeat and positive, and that's people that have died.
Yeah. I knew that's where you were going. I knew it. I was like, he's either going to talk about our own personal future or the deaths of the people this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to go, aren't there?
Oh yeah. My God, this was a decently lethal year, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a really sizable list, and I sort of picked and chose from that. I have about 15 individual names here that we can talk about. If you have any others, we can expound upon them. Because there are some
If I can
individuals.
think of them, but
Yeah, there's some people that died, like Stephen Hawking and Naomi Parker Fraley, who was the model for the Rosie the Riveter We Can Do It poster. They weren't really linked intrinsically to movies and television, so I didn't include them. But there are plenty of people of that caliber that also passed.
yes. Just all the good souls are getting out of here when the thing's good.
Yeah. So the first one I want to start this off with real quick is Whitey Bulger passed a few months ago.
Oh yeah,
Famous crime boss, leader of the Winter Hill Gang, and
noted psychopath,
and inspiration for Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason I included him. Is because he's so heavily tied to a movie that we so heavily despise.
It's like good riddance.
Get out of here.
Not because of the whole horrific murderer thing. It's like, no, you inspired a terrible film.
Get at it. Well, you inspired a terrible part of a film. I guess the majority of that film was inspired by a Hong Kong.
Yes, that part, I like that. All the bits that I didn't like about it involve, him.
Yeah.
So, fuck him.
Okay, this one is actually extremely recent, so I put it at the top of the list. This happened yesterday, but I didn't find out about it until this morning, and that is Penny Marshall.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yes, Laverne and Shirley directed Big, A League of Their Own. She was married to Rob Reiner for a decade.
Yep.
And sister of Gary Marshall.
Yeah, I was really sad to hear about that. And I was like, oh,
me too.
That was a good director.
Especially since she's more deeply tied to me. Well, I don't mean personally, but I have a deeper connection to her because something that is so linked with my life, The Simpsons. She was the first guest star that was ever on the show. Now, that being said, there were other guest stars that appeared before her on the show, like Al Brooks and Ron Taylor and Marsha Wallace. But she actually played a character, Mrs. Botts, the babysitter bandit, in the the season finale of season 1 of The Simpsons back in 1989.
Wow.
But that episode was actually the first full-length Simpsons episode that was ever made. They just got it back from the studio they shipped it off to animate it, and it was really terrible, so they had to put it at the end of the season so that they could fix all the problems with it. So officially, she was the first guest star.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. I have another thing here. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I figure you can fill in a lot of the blanks, but Steven Hillenburg.
Oh, yeah. That one was a hard one for me.
Yes, because I know you were... SpongeBob specifically was a big show for you specifically. I definitely watched it, but...
Yeah, I define it as probably my biggest... one of my biggest, sources of, my sense of comedy, my just enjoyment of cartoons in general, as just kind of a benchmark for me, at least up until, until the later years, which Steven Hillenburg wasn't really directly involved with anyways. But yeah, it's he passed with due to ALS, I believe. And only recently I saw that he actually had his ashes scattered into the Pacific. I was like, oh, god damn it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was he actually... Because I'm pretty sure he actually was a... he had studied marine biology before making the show.
Yes.
And so that's where the passion had started. And I was like, yeah, this guy had a genuine love of the ocean. I was like, huh? So yeah, when that one hit me, I was like, oh god, my childhood. I think, the first time... It's rare, for a long time since I liked a lot of... not necessarily younger actors, but actors that are still kicking around now. It's rare that I do have celebrity deaths that actually directly affect me personally. At least just like from in any emotional way. The first one I can remember was Robin Williams, and so I don't know. It was just, and then just thinking back on it, it's like wow, that these guys are some of the biggest seminal characters in a lot of my own and a lot of my colleagues' childhood. So it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, no. I mean, SpongeBob is the phenomenon. It is the Nickelodeon cartoon.
Yeah,
Though it sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it's been pretty much their benchmark.
Right. I mean, they have a third movie on the way that's no doubt going to have reference to him like at the end.
Yeah.
As these movies often do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth noting that he, as well as several other people that went on to make their own shows, sort of got started working on Rocko's Modern Life, which is my favorite Nickelodeon show back in 1994. I think it's the best Nicktoon that was ever made, and you can see a lot of his blood in it, as well as Doug Lawrence, who did a lot on Rocko, who's the voice of Plankton. So that's worthy of note.
That was a sad one.
Yeah. Next, I have Bernardo Bertolucci, director.
You're gonna have to remind me.
He did
quite. Know.
He did quite a few pictures, most of which I have not seen, including Last Tango in Paris and 1987 Best Picture winner The Last Emperor.
Huh.
Which we brought up on the Karate Kid episode of the show, because
we did.
The Last Emperor is the first Western film that was allowed to film within the Forbidden City. Or it's something like that. It was definitely the first one.
It was the last movie since the most recent Karate Kid that was allowed to.
It was something like that, yes.
Yeah, which technically, like, you know, Karate Kid was a joint thing with, you know, a Chinese studio as well, but still.
Yes. Something like that.
Something like that. It was basically an ad for China, which, you know, fair enough. It made me want to go to China.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
We have Stan Lee, who we definitely mentioned on the show when that happened. I remember.
Which, like, I guess there's a lot to be said about the man. I understand that he's not nearly as, like, prolific as a lot of people assume he is. He didn't, like, make all these characters. He was more just kind of the head of multiple writers making them. But, like, still, the man did still do a lot.
Well, he had a lot of input on that, and the problem is, like a lot of people with say Jack Kirby, a lot of people saying that there was that he was stealing a lot of credit for this. If you sort of go back and like read those interviews and watch those interviews, I can see where Jack Kirby may have been upset at that, but it was really just the fact that Stan Lee was not only sort of head writer, but he was also more outgoing. Like, he was the one doing these interviews, and it's never like he outright said, oh, my creation, this and that. It was just he was sort of the face of it. He was the one people knew because he was doing all these interviews and everything in the public eye. So he was the one that they asked to get to do the intros to those Hulk VHS tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah. And damn if the man didn't have enthusiasm for the art.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's, like, you know, a lot of people don't give comic books credit. It is an art form. It's like one of the only definitively American art forms, debatably.
Mm-hmm. You know it's art when people try to censor it. Yes. And the introduction of the the comic code probably is the biggest indicator of that.
Yes. So it is quite the thing. It's been such a definitive staple of modern culture lately that it's hard to not be, you know, sad at the man's passing. Like, any big name in the comic book world should be deserving of it. It just, like, you know, Stan Lee's also just become such a, you know, public face and name that it's just hard to ignore it.
yeah, like I said, you can. He is like the face of a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Frank Miller were to pass tomorrow, not to say that people wouldn't be in mourning of that. There probably would be some people who didn't care, but comparatively, just based on recognition alone, it wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, yeah, there's probably a lot more that can be said about him, but we have already talked a bit about him before, so I will leave it at that.
Yes.
Um, Bill Daly, not a lot to say about the man because I don't necessarily recognize him, but he did a lot of television show work, most notably being I Dream of Jeannie and the Bob Newhart Show. Uh,
Oh.
he also did 4 episodes of Alf, apparently, which it's been a while since I've seen, but I do not remember the man being on Alf. Uh, so that was something.
Fair enough.
Burt Reynolds.
Oh yeah, Burt Reynolds.
That happened this year, yes.
I always mixed him up with Tom Selleck.
They have that mustache. They
It's
both
the
had that
mustache.
mustache. But yes, got his start primarily on things like Gunsmoke, and eventually went on to do other projects like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, and everyone's favorite Cannonball Run.
Of course.
Yes, the seminal picture of his career.
The Seminole.
No, that's when that happened. It's definitely something where he's a recognizable figure. I just looked at it. I was like, huh, okay. So he's gone now. It is sort of like a halfway point between someone like that person was so intrinsically tied with my life and now they're gone, to someone else like I've seen that show but I don't recognize that face. For me, he's sort of in the middle there.
Same. Which I think a lot of people of our age would probably say the same, because he always seems to be an actor referenced by an older generation rather than he's so often cited as a huge part of someone's life that he kind of by proxy became a part of our own lives, if only because nobody would stop talking about him.
That's true. If there's anything,
which isn't to say anything negative in that connotation. It's just that the older generation was a big fan.
Exactly. No, there's definitely things listed that he was in that I recognize, but the only one I can really say that I've experienced would be Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, which I freaking love that movie.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is Smokey and the Bandit 3, where Smokey is the bandit.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
So following
mixed up the formula a little.
Yeah, mix it up. Don't have Burt Reynolds at all.
Yeah, except for a very brief scene right at the end.
I don't even remember that.
There's a point where Smokey actually approaches Snowman / the Bandit, and Smokey's just so obsessed with catching the bandit that in his mind he thinks he's talking to Burt Reynolds' Bandit, and it shows this kind of dream sequence of the conversation they're having, but then Smokey inevitably lets him run off because it's I don't have a life without chasing you, so you can go.
Oh man, I don't remember that.
It's a very brief scene, but it's kind of cool.
All right. Following that, we have Barbara Harris, who was in a fair amount of movies and television shows back in the day.
Can't say I recognize the name, unfortunately.
She was in movies like Grosse Point Blank. She was in the original Freaky Friday. And she was the star of Alfred Hitchcock's Family Plot. So
haven't seen that one. So
I think I have it, but I haven't seen it. If you're leading a Hitchcock picture, then you're up there.
Yeah, you're definitely up there.
Even if it's not one of the more well-known Hitchcock films.
It's still a Hitchcock film.
Exactly. And speaking of Hitchcock films, we have John Gavin, who also passed this year. He was in a lot of stuff. I wrote down Thoroughly Modern Millie just because every time I see that title, I'm delighted. It's such a wonderful title.
It's a lovely title, yeah.
Thoroughly Modern Millie.
It's the kind of title that seems like it's spoken from a stern British matron lady. Thoroughly modern Millie.
Thoroughly
It's like,
modern.
oh, yes, quite.
It's like she's at charm school.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
But the two
it just
most
seems.
well-known performances I have written down here would be Julius Caesar in Spartacus,
Mhm.
and as Sam Loomis, the boyfriend of the main character Marion, in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yep.
So we got some pretty big titles for Mr. John Gavin.
Got a good career in that guy.
Yeah, seems like it, at least. Another one that I wrote down, I don't recognize her, unfortunately, and I don't recognize her roles in a lot of these, but Georgia Ann Johnson, who played roles in Archie Bunker's Place, Midnight Cowboy, apparently. But she also did guest spots on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, and that's another show that I loved the title of, so I had to include it. I love seeing that title.
God, I love movies and stuff with good titles.
Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Doctor Strangelove.
The title. Dr. Strangelove. All the doctor films and shows.
Yeah.
Doctor House just doesn't sell it. Or House, whatever it was called.
Yeah, this house.
Let's
Jaws.
see. Jaws.
It's very, very, very straightforward and to the point.
Dr.
There
Jaws.
are Jaws. No, I was just saying titles in general, but yes.
Oh.
No, I was just saying the general titles.
That's the newest Jaws film. Dr. Jaws. Dr. Jaws.
Jaws MD.
Jaws MD. You know what? Perfect. Sell it to sci-fi.
Yeah.
Okay, Nanette Fabray, who was in the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Carol Burnett Show, her own show, the Nanette Fabray Show.
Of course.
A bunch of shows named after individual people. She was also on One Day at a Time, which I believe was created by Norman Lear, who we've mentioned on this show before.
Oh, yeah.
Which I found interesting. And from here, John Mahoney, who had a number of titles that he's been in the past, but the main thing that I recognize him as is Martin Crane, the father from Frasier. The Cheers spin-off.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
And of course, he was
Cheers
also in The
spin-off?
Simpsons. Sorry?
I didn't know Frasier was a Cheers spinoff.
Yes. Well, the character of Frasier Crane was a character that appeared several times on Cheers, played by Kelsey Grammer.
I did not know that. I've literally heard more about Frasier than I've heard about Cheers. I don't know why. It seems like I've known more people who have enjoyed that have enjoyed that show more than I know of people who've even talked about Cheers. I know nothing about Cheers.
Well, Frasier is great.
Oh, cool.
But I mean, yeah, some there's been one or two occasions where characters from Cheers have shown up on Frasier as like guest roles, as like their characters from Cheers, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you could make it to Seattle."
Cool. I should probably watch that show finally.
It was. I don't know if it still is, but the whole series was on Netflix for the longest time. That's where I saw a lot
Doubt
of it.
it is anymore. They keep sacrificing stuff on that platform.
They keep sacrificing stuff for their own stuff. Like we're making too much
good.
content. We got to get rid of some other stuff.
Which they then cancel that same stuff.
True. Burn. All right. We're winding down a bit here. We're getting into some more well-known ones to us, at least. Firstly, this one really surprised me because I missed it. I did not hear about this, but Margot Kidder passed. It was in horror film. Sorry.
I don't really know.
In horror films like Black Christmas, the Amityville Horror, and she played Lois Lane in the Superman film series.
Oh, her.
Yes.
Huh, that's sad.
Yes, unfortunately, she is now gone.
This one's racking up.
Yeah, we have Arlie Ermy. Everyone remembers when that happened. For Full Metal Jacket, Toy Story. You know, after Full Metal Jacket, for good reason, he sort of fell into that sergeant role. and it just carried with him everywhere. He was even that sort of that same character, but under a different name, Colonel Leslie Happablap, on season 7 episode of The Simpsons, Sideshow Bob's Last Gleaming.
I know he also had a brief role on the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Really?
Like he voiced there's a scene where it's the dwarves versus elves episode where they're about to start battling and everything, but he pops up on screen.
Oh yes, yes, with the koala.
All right, kiddies, we've determined this is entirely too violent for your sensibilities, so instead I will be commentating over this footage of a peaceful koala bear.
Oh, so that's him and not just a sound-alike. That's cool.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's him because it's a dead ringer of a sound-alike if it isn't.
Yeah.
I've seen that Full Metal Jacket scene so many times. It's hard to, not recognize that voice.
What a wonderful man.
Yeah, God rest him.
Yeah.
Wasn't he actually a drill sergeant, and that's why they got him for that movie?
Yeah, they had him as they had another guy cast in the movie, and he was there. I don't remember. He wasn't there as we got a drill sergeant to tell us what's right and what's wrong with these scenes. He was doing some other production work. He might have even been doing janitorial work, but he approached Kubrick and he's like, "That's not how a drill sergeant would say it. He'd do it more like this." And eventually he just ended up replacing the original actor for that movie, who was probably very upset.
Yeah, but at the same time, he gives a hell of a performance, and most of his lines are ad-libbed.
Yes.
Which is amazing, and always a nice little bit for me.
Just taken from his own personal life. And lastly, go ahead, tell me if I missed anything after this, because I very well could have. But
not that I can think of.
But we have Vern Troyer, who also passed this year, and that kind of surprised me, just because it must have been so long ago. I thought this was last year that he passed away.
Yeah, I think he died early.
Yeah, but of course
it was like David Bowie the last year.
Yeah, but of course Austin Powers, Grip Hook in the first Harry Potter film. He did a lot. He was in The Love Guru. Apparently good friends with Mike Myers.
Yeah, it seems it.
Yeah, I actually do remember the only episode I ever saw of Celebrity Pads, or whatever it was. It was either on MTV or VH1, something like that, where they would go to celebrities' homes and show the house. The only episode of that I ever saw was they went through Vern Troyer's house. And I remember thinking, why is he in a house with things that are too tall for him to reach? He was in a normal sized house, and he was walking around, and he had specialty step ladders and steps and stuff for him to reach things. I was like, why?
But I don't think as someone in the building industry, they don't make them custom like that.
I know, but just since all the money that he did have, he could have had something made like that, or easier access than just having a step stool to the side. I remember thinking that.
I mean, the problem with that is it would have taken a lot of specialty carpentry and extra stuff to do that, whereas it's just cheaper to get a step ladder.
I guess so, but a celebrity would definitely be the one to do something like that.
I mean, I think it's also just be impractical if you're having other people over who weren't that.
You know what? That's true.
It's
that's where I finally relent.
You could technically have a Hobbit house, but it wouldn't be practical for the long run, especially for an actor.
That's the part that always bothered me. Okay, so I talked about this with my grandfather a couple of weeks ago. But there's this movie from the 30s or the 40s, I can't remember which decade, called The Terror of Tiny Town. And
oh boy.
Basically it's a Western, but the entirety of the cast is little people.
Uh-huh.
There's not a single average sized person in the movie. That's the gimmick of the film. But they live in a town where it's built for average sized people. So they have to crawl up steps, and they have to use step stools to reach doors. And I always wondered why in a town that has no, it's an entire town of these people. They have I don't know. They even they even rode ponies. Like at least that was
Well, yeah,
fitting.
for like, there's a certain point where it's just like they have to at that point, otherwise they're gonna die if they try to ride a normal size one. Like if a normal sized person falls off a horse, they'll probably be okay, but for a little person, that'd probably be lethal.
Yeah. I mean, for the point of the movie, I understand why. If they were little people
Right.
in a little town, then the audience would be like, well, I mean, this looks fine to me. But,
Yeah. But yeah, he will be missed.
yeah, yes, so long.
Yeah. He
Oh,
will be missed, and not just because we accidentally would look over him
oh, come on.
too soon.
Not really.
It's like, I don't like, I guess there's a certain point I would just be like, I'm not making fun of the man, but he was short.
Yeah,
Like
he owned
objectively.
it richer than I'll ever be
Yeah, seriously.
in life and economic status.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that's that. I've exhausted that list.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more, but there's a certain point we have to go like, we don't want to think about the mortality of this year that much more.
Yeah, we cut it short.
Yeah, this has been a rough one.
Yes, it has.
It's been a long one. My God.
The year, yeah. Well, it's almost over. We have 2 weeks.
That
I
time
mean,
of
less
recording,
than
at
2
least.
weeks. Yeah.
Ugh.
Almost.
I still gotta finish my Christmas presents.
Really?
Yeah.
I did mine at latest a month ahead of time, so I don't have to worry about anything. I try to get everything done before Black Friday, which doesn't fit with saving money, but it saves me a lot of headache.
I've been making a bunch of mine, at least for my family.
Oh,
so
right.
I've been dragging that one out.
That's good.
So yeah, I'll get that done hopefully soon. Otherwise, it's gift cards for Christmas.
Yes, gift cards. What was that Dilbert line? Thank you, honey. A gift card. It's like money, but less
Restrictive.
valuable or more restricted, something like that.
Yeah.
Oy. Well, I mean, that being said, the new year is upon us. Do you have any goals for next year? Anything you really want to try to do?
I mean, like the obvious ones. I want to get back to the gym. That's just for basic stuff. But beyond that, I want to be on YouTube less because I get sidetracked and I get kind of obsessed with watching like clips from shows or clips from movies and all these sorts of things. I really want to get into like watching actual TV shows again because I used to do it a lot, but I think either just I've gotten my ADD has gotten worse or whatever. I just have not been able to stick with it. And I talked about like Boardwalk Empire and that sort of stuff. There's a bunch of shows like that, and I want to go finally watch The Wire. I want to go back and watch a lot of these old, big like seminal series that people have been talking about for years, like Frasier and such, and really just kind of get back into like a good series rather than just watching non-interconnected clips and stuff. Because like, it is nice to watch just a full cohesive story like that. Just to kind of follow these characters through what would typically be years of their lives, just to kind of watch it, which we talked about earlier. But I've just never been able to stick with it. Beyond that, not a whole lot. Obviously I do want to dedicate myself to going to the movies more. I saw a lot of movies this year, but it's been more circumstantial. I want to just go to the movies by myself sometimes. But,
You know what? That's like a true thing for me. There are things that I want to see next year, and I just set aside money here and there. It's expensive, like average, but if I'm planning for it, just like a small money like movie fund, I'll just go to the movies. It doesn't bother me going by myself. I did it for Ready Player One, which I've mentioned countless times.
yes.
It doesn't bother me. I just need to do it more. Like I need to see more new things. Definitely not a slam against the stuff that I watch because I continue to watch things from like the 60s, the 70s, like things that I've missed. just
Right, of
because
course.
how are you going to be cultured if you don't take in as much of that kind of stuff as you can for like the full experience of what we've done, and especially for people that like movies, you should not limit yourself to like one decade.
Mm.
But I don't watch enough newer material. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel I need to watch more recent things just to at least see where we're headed.
I think I've kind of been the opposite. I think I need to watch a bit more older stuff. Not necessarily into the '60s and stuff, because I've it's just not really been my style, like for of stuff I enjoyed. But like a lot of those, I mean, like The Wire, like a lot of older TV shows and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like not necessarily old, but like still like ones that people of my generation are even talking about.
Mm.
So
I. Mm,
whatever generation we could consider ourselves to be, because you and I and all our peers are kind of in that weird middle ground of that 92 to 90, I guess 7 era, where it's like we're not really millennials, but we're definitely not Gen Z.
yeah, I think officially, I've looked this up before because I've had this talk with people. I think officially we classify as Gen Z.
And see, that's the problem. I've seen other things that say definitively we'd be millennial, and that Gen Z doesn't start until '98.
Hmm.
I can't find a definitive one. We're just in this weird fluctuation period, especially for '96. Like for me,
All right.
like '95 and '96.
Yeah, I've heard the cutoff for millennial is fairly is like late '80s to early '90s, around there, because they're people that grew up from teenage to 20 years old, so like hitting that adulthood at the
Right.
spawn of the new millennium, which is why that's where millennials cut off, because
Right.
being a child growing up in that time period doesn't necessarily mean much. You're not
Yeah.
affecting the world in any way. You're just taking in what other people are doing. You don't have much
Right. The
input.
world is affecting you.
Yeah, you're not producing, you're consuming.
Hmm.
Well,
Which makes sense.
culturally and societal wise,
I've just,
like you're
I've seen
definitely
this.
producing.
Oh well, yeah, obviously. Yeah. I've never been able to see the one definitive argument everyone can go with, because I've had people like near angrily tell me I'm one thing versus another, where it's like, all right, chill out. It's
Yeah.
like I'm too broke to be millennial, but I'm too depressed to be Gen Z. It's like that's always been my justification.
I think that's the other way around.
Yeah, well, exactly. Then there's multiple arguments for it. At least, like, I've always seen the whole millennial thing as millennials were like at least grew up in an era where financial success was still kind of on the rise, versus Gen Z are kind of less depressed and more just pissed, like because they're growing up in a lot of shitstorms. We're just kind of in that weird middle ground of we've already been through the shitstorms. We weren't early enough to get in on the money of it.
The way I've seen it classified is a lot of times is like Gen X is I want to live, and millennials is I just really want to die, and then Gen Z is yeah, I want to die. So
Yeah, yeah, it's nihilism versus like just basic existentialism.
yeah. So rounding this out, I do have one more thing that I kind of want to do next year,
Mm.
and it's a tall order, but I
Oh
might
boy.
be able to get it done if I sort of focus on it. And
Hmm.
that is, I want to watch all the nominees for Best Picture around that time
Oh
comes out.
really?
Yes, I really do. I want to actively participate, not in the Oscars as a whole, because that is a lot of
Hmm.
films to go through, but the Best Picture specifically. I want to see those nominees, right?
Yeah.
In that way, I can.
I feel you.
Yeah, I'll sort of feel like I'm participating, even though I'm not there and I'm not participating at all. Uh,
I at least want to see Vice,
yeah.
as I've mentioned already.
But I also want to go through and just watch the best pictures. Just
Yeah.
since the Oscars inception, I actually the other day I haven't watched it yet, but I found a copy of Wings, which was the first film 1927 and 1928. It was the first film to ever win Best Picture, and I kind of just want to go through and watch
Hmm.
them.
See, like the problem with that idea is that it's not going to be all good movies. We know that for certain. We've already seen that with the Departed.
Well,
So We're gonna run into some schlock.
Well, I watch B horror. It
Good
doesn't bother
point.
me. It doesn't
Good
bother me
point.
at all. The only
I
limitation I'm
think I
giving
think I'm mostly just remembering my anger at The Departed.
Yeah. The only limitation I'm giving myself, which it isn't a limitation, it's actually going to make it easier, is that I'm
Hmm.
not going to watch The Departed and I'm not going to watch The Shape of Water because I've watched them within the past year.
That
So
makes sense.
I'm gonna try to experience everything else as I can because that's also sort of participating in the history of movies. And I think if you want to have a okay, I don't think this is a definitive, but I think a good way to give yourself a full experience on movies is to try and watch all the Best Picture winners, or to try and watch all the AFI's top 100 movies, or that 1001 movies to see before you die. Whoever
Oh
wrote
yeah,
that, Leonard Maltin, something like that.
something like
To
that.
try and go through that. One of those three things. If you really want to be sort of well versed in movies, I think one of those three is a good bet.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and I'll try to at least try to keep up with you at least a little, but I guarantee I won't. I'll be able to see at least a couple of them.
no, that's
Yeah,
alright.
yeah, I think just in general, I need to just consume less internet content next year. I think I really just got to go back to more classic stuff of just some movies, some books. I really want to read more books, um, and just kind of go with a more just sit down and enjoy it as I'm watching it deal rather than just having something on in the background. Because it's given me this very kind of numb mindset to watching and consuming stuff lately, and it's really kind of just become unhealthy.
Yeah, I really don't watch stuff on the internet anymore, like YouTube shows or just internet shows. I really don't outside of like one or two programs. I actually even support one on Patreon because they're like little mini documentaries that are
Hmm.
produced on YouTube. But that's it, and that's not like a let's play or a vlog or something. Those are like shows that are just being produced for the internet. So I think this past
Yeah,
year I personally have cut down on it. Uh,
yeah, and it's just like there's been like, and this is to be said pretty much any era of internet, video making and consumption. It's gotten so freaking just toxic and just kind of hurtful lately that with various content creators and just how much laws are changing with internet access and everything. It's just gotten kind of dull where it's just kind of watching after a while. I'm like, this isn't fun, you know.
that's true.
It's like I'm not watching content creators anymore. I'm watching clips from other things that I think are better than all these things that people are going to like bending over backwards to try and make, and I just don't find entertaining.
Right.
It's like
Which at
this
that
just
point,
isn't for me.
we might as well just watch the actual content.
Exactly, and that's what I want to try to start doing again. It's
Right.
like saw the stuff online. And it's like, oh, this is free content. I can just look at it now, and I'm like, I could just rent one movie every couple of days, and that's what a couple bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I can deal with that, versus just mindlessly consuming all this extra crap.
Yeah, and the book thing is admirable too. I have to say, it all stemmed from this podcast. This podcast is what started it because we did Scarface, and even though we didn't touch on it, I wanted to read the Scarface book,
Mm-hmm.
and that set me on a trail. I've read every book that has been adapted for this show, like the movies we cover on this show. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also opened the door. I'm starting to read more and more. I've read 9 books this year, all the way through. That's more books than I read from my freshman year of high school to my junior year of college. I can guarantee.
Yeah, that's. I'm probably in the same boat. I haven't read anything this year really. I mean, I've listened to a couple audiobooks because it's like I said before, I have pretty bad ADD. It's just genuinely difficult for me to read sometimes.
Right.
But with audiobooks, it's a lot easier, especially with how much I drive. Um, and so that's probably more that I've consumed recently than I have in multiple years. It's like, oh god. But I do generally want to. I want to just like be able to just sit and like contemplate stuff for a second rather than just being blared at me.
Yeah, no. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I think we strive to be bettering ourselves, whether it be physically or culturally.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of been the whole point of this podcast. I think it's been more as much for ourselves as much as just giving the content to others. It's like we've wanted to be interested in these other remakes for a while now, and we had talked about this a lot before we even made the podcast.
Yeah.
It's just like it's really interesting to see how culture has evolved and adapted for each of these different things, which I'm very excited to see if we can try to do more of the Star is Born remakes, because that's going to be pretty much a perfect microcosm of it. There's been so many of them through every generation. We can pretty much just see how every generation takes it.
Yeah. And I know I've said this before, I don't think on the podcast, but we could have 0 to anywhere between 0 to 2 people just listening to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I would still want to do this. I
Oh,
still
hell
want to
yeah.
do it, and I still want to keep doing it, because even if there isn't a single person listening, I'm enjoying doing this. Editing it,
Yeah.
the show is not a headache, and I'm watching movie in part because we switch on and off who picks what we get to do. I'm seeing things that I would never normally sit through, and that's a good thing, even if I don't like the genre, and even if I wind up still not liking that movie. Like, oh, I didn't think I was going to like it, and I was right, I didn't like it. At least I experienced it, and I could say that instead of just judging it from afar. And I think that's important.
Yeah. It's that probably is the best way of thinking about it. It's like I really realize I would never have sat through probably half of these movies if it weren't for the show. It's like even the original True Grit, I was not a like I'm still not a huge fan of John Wayne movies, but for the sake of the show, it's very fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I'll keep doing it as long as you're doing it.
And likewise.
We'll see if it'll be fun to look back on this if we end up becoming ultra successful in the next few weeks. But yeah, fuck it.
In the next few, this hits at
A few weeks,
top
a few
page
weeks,
of Reddit.
Yeah, the next few fucking months, I guess I should say. I don't know why I said weeks.
I'd like to see this on the top page of Reddit, and I'm like, oh, we finally
Hell
did it.
yeah.
And then I like click on the comics, and they're like comments, and they're like, these bigots made fun of little people, and I'm like, oh god. Oh,
At that
no.
point, I'll still be like, they're recognizing us. They're giving us criticism. it's like, woo.
We've received your complaints, and going forward, we will no longer insult little people.
I mean, heck, we've said it for at the end of most of our episodes. It's like, give us comments, even if they're negative. We don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, which I'm sure if we do become, if such when we ever take off a bit in popularity, we'll start to regret that. But for now,
I never
right.
will.
yeah. I mean, I know you never will. You, of all the people I've known, have the good identity of not giving a shit. Not in the way that's like a dick way, but it's like, what of it?
People are gonna think what they're gonna think.
Yeah. And I've tried to emulate that to some degree, but I'm still just like, it doesn't like me.
So do you want me to lead off with that? Sort of give some of
Go.
that stuff?
Go right ahead.
All right, so it Remade on Twitter. We talk about whenever the episodes go live, or usually about 2 to 3 hours after the episodes go live when I remember that happened. We're on most podcast platforms out there: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Podbay, Podmatic, all that. We're hosted on Anchor though, and that's where the tweets usually direct to, or the episodes on Anchor. Thank you.
Thank you much, Anchor.
Thank you, Anchor. They remade it at gmail.com is sort of the direct email if you want to get direct through that line, or you can send us feedback on the website, which is theyremade.com, which usually just acts as an archive for a lot of our episodes with links to where they're hosted on Anchor, as well as a couple of links to where you can find our podcast. I try to update it whenever we get accepted by a new platform. And you know what? Yeah, leave us a review and a rating and a review on iTunes specifically. The podcast community, whether you listen to it on iTunes or not, they seem to take the rating and review from iTunes very seriously, and that's what ups your ranking on any of the other platforms. So that is the one to use.
We greatly appreciate the input you can give us.
Yes, always. And
it's nice to be recognized.
Usually. And I think
Usually.
that's about it.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of been our piece for the year. Been quite the year.
Yes, it has. And I'm looking forward to next one. I mean,
Woo.
sort of, but more so
Well,
for this. I'm looking forward
for
to
this.
this next year.
Everything else, well, we'll see. it's got an uphill climb.
Yep, but we're making it.
Woo!
All right.
We do it for the movies.
Living at the movies.
Yeah, yeah. I live on Amazon for the movies. That's the only place I go anymore.
Oh, they're controlling your brain.
At least they give me content.
That's true. The content is what you're to strive for in the natural world.
It's a dystopian future, but damn if it doesn't have good HD.
Orwell would be horrified, but also proud.
And Huxley would be proud and also horrified.
I think that's a good point.
Anyway, on that sort of depressing note, as always, I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your host, Jacob.
We hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. And we'll see you, I guess, next year then.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Bye.